Let's start with the main session, Roundtable Conference on the theme, Claiming the Unclaimed, Unlocking the Potential of Idle Financial Assets in India. Today's conference brings prominent experts from various sectors, including financial sector specialists, regulatory experts, IEPFA members, government representatives, claim settlement experts, and market analysts. There will be brainstorming discussions, sharing of ideas, and immense learning opportunities for each one of us. Simultaneously, we will hear out a plethora of policy suggestions and ideas from these creative minds and experts in their own fields. To start with the session, may I request the moderator of the session, Dr. C.S. Mohapatra, IEPF Chair Professor, NCAR, to come on the dais. Also join me in inviting Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, Member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, Government of India, and Ms. Anita Shagela, CEO, IEPFA, and Joint Secretary, MCA.
Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
We'll start with the opening part of the RTC. They will give us the overall picture of the unclaimed financial assets in India and the effective ways of service delivery. To begin with, I would like to invite Dr. C.S. Mohapatra to open the discussion and give us the perspective of the discussion and carry forward today's session. Dr. Mohapatra, the IEPF Chair Professor at NCAR since July 2023, is a former Indian Economic Service Officer of the 1986 batch and an expert in financial sector development and reforms, economic administration, planning and policy. He has served in the Ministry of Finance in senior positions from 2007 till 22, besides various other ministries and departments during his 36-year-long career in the Government of India. He held several wide-ranging responsibilities, primarily in financial sector policy and reforms in the Ministry of Finance before retiring at the rank of Secretary to the Government of India. As Secretary to FSDC and subsequently as Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, he was responsible for critical deliverables pertaining to financial stability and cyber security, financial sector reforms, policy and institution building. Handled board matters of RBI, bilateral cooperation and sustainable finance, the GST Council, IMF, World Bank, G20, BRICS, Financial Stability Board, Asian Development Bank and UNDP among others. He has a PhD in economics from JNU and MSc degree in economics from London School of Economics and has received training from various reputed institutions in India and abroad. He received the Investor Education and Awareness Award for his outstanding contribution by SEBI and AMFI in 2024. Sir, may I please request you to come and kickstart the conference today.
Good morning, all of you. I'm really honored to be with you all today and amongst over a dozen of experts in various sectors, many of whom say that after Sanjeev, who is my old friend as he mentioned, spoken, what is there to listen to now? I would tell you that there will be a lot of other things that have not been spoken. Even Sanjeev shared with me what do we discuss. The thrust of today's roundtable conference is to at least sit together and discuss about the unclaimed assets issue across sectors. Maybe this is the first time I thought, because my Secretary FSDC role came into play, Anita was absolutely always welcoming for reforms and for thinking anew. One of my working papers also she appreciated, and it has been appreciated in many other quarters. We talks about how do we do better with all the unclaimed assets across the sectors, and it will be revealing to you beyond IEPFA how much more money is lying in which areas and what is happening across the world and what all we can learn apart from gaining the knowledge in terms of the process reforms which Sanjeev mentioned, and also that reducing the timeline and how do we integrate the already integrated portal further with AI and others. Both Anita and Sanjeev has mentioned this. I would like them to focus now in terms of how to aggregate the entire thing and then do it. Let me tell you, unclaimed financial assets are a category of financial and tangible assets that remain dormant beyond a stipulated period. And that stipulated period is different for India, for different sectors. That's the first thing that we have to handle. It has emerged as a structurally significant citizen-centric issue. How much citizen-centric it is and it is not, that also we realize from the earlier speakers' interventions. Admittedly, the CEO admits that it's prohibitive, it's not only complex. The system is prohibitive for people who have small amount of money and the suffering that they go through. So how do we really correct the entire system? How do we integrate? How do we make situation simple? We discuss about simplicity of the system, and who less than the member of the PM of Advisory Council of the PM says that the complex you make, it is more better for the people who are fraudsters to handle or mishandle them than the common man. So it should be as simple as possible to access, and you should be secure equally. If these fragmented legal frameworks and weak enforcement hinders recovery processes, exacerbate financial exclusion, as also dilute public trust in financial institutions. The financial ecosystem in general has a lot of ideal financial assets in India. It's bank deposits, it's unclaimed dividends, insurance proceeds, mutual fund payouts, provident and pension contributions, and many other instruments. In foreign countries, even safe deposit lockers, people keep money, keep assets in the locker and they die or they forget about it. So that also is one category. There are 12 to 15 categories of unclaimed assets. Are we handling them in a uniform manner? No. Are we thinking about it to integrate it? No. The aggregation that has started in the financial sector in terms of having our individual investments and other things, that has to now go further in terms of unclaimed assets. And is regulators alone responsible for that? Is government responsible for that? Is the process that has been set in responsible for that? Or even the people whose money it is are also equally responsible? I always think that the responsibility starts equally with the individuals. It's our money, our forefathers' money, or the lost money of ours. Do we even care about it? Do we manage it? Do we think about it? There will be a lot of gaps or negligence that you will find in all the scams and frauds which has risen by 40%. In 90% cases, it is the negligence of the customer. If it is not a negligent activity, RBI says the money will be returned. There have been many instances where individuals could have done better. These are also the things of financial inclusion, financial literacy, and having an effective financial awareness, which takes us to digitalizing financial education. The camp approach, I always believed, is a one-time approach, and we cannot really sustain this activity. The way the scams and frauds, the nature is changing, the color is changing, the frequency is increasing, the number of people who are affected is multiplying. So what do we do? We have to learn from different areas, from different sectors across the globe, and try to instill a very good system which can survive, which can make best use of the modern technology. So it has to be humane, as Sanjeev mentioned. It has to be human at the end of the day. It has to be simple at the end of the day. It has to be integrated. So our discussion will roam around that. We have experts from SEBI, experts from RBI, experts from former IRDAI member is there, and you will see, you must be having the invitation program with you, that we have called people, experts, who are exactly handling the issue there. They will tell you the update about it. The amount involved is too much. If it is 1 lakh crore here at IEPFA, it is no less in the bank deposits, which is there in Udgam, which is under Deposit Education and Awareness Fund. And the amount lying at DICTC, which is the Insurance Credit Corporation under the RBI, has 2,28,000 crores of claims to be given to people. It is not unclaimed technically, but in terms of bank amalgamations and bank collapse, they take the money and then they have to pass it out. and it is increasing at the rate of 15%, 2,28,000. And I was just making a rough estimate about the amount lying here and there. It is about another 2,50,000 or so. So what do you do with this huge money? It's much more huger than we discussed in the morning, and the problem is much more about integrating it, having a uniform system that who other than the Economic Advisory Council can take across the sectors. So we'll make use of his knowledge, his ideas and his initiatives in terms of handling this. And I hear that the amount was 78,000 crore for RBI, which has risen now to more than 97,000 crore as per their annual report. So just imagine how much it is still increasing, and where from this money comes. It all comes because we have not taken care of our money. That part is forgotten by everybody. We will put up a system. So prevention, how do we prevent? Why do we are silent? By we, I mean, suppose I am a branch manager. If it becomes dormant in 2 years, why do I just keep that aside till 10 year, till the 10th year when it is passed on to the RBI? As a company person, why do I make it dormant, and after 7 years, I don't do any action, keep it inoperative, and then transfer the money to dividends to IEPFA? Why can't we find the person when he is still alive, when some relationship is there with the bank, when it is getting dormant? There will be many cases of prevention that you will also hear. I also know and admit that SEBI is trying to take care of some preventive efforts. RBI is also trying to take care of some preventive efforts. As we go along, we will discuss everything. And at the end of the day, prevention is better than cure. This is an issue of prevention. This is an issue of telling people not to commit this mistake further. It's your money. So awareness is developing. Financial education and literacy, how much we need, you can make out. We 27% only are financially literate. So to say, gender gap also exists in that. Ladies are even less. How do we make it universal? How do we get into Vikshit Bharat with 27% of financial literacy? When the financial literacy itself is a challenge, because now it is digital financial literacy, and the color of or the qualification for financially being literate next day morning will be different one. We need to update ourselves. Where are the apps which teaches us? Which are the places? So to tell you about the educative value, to build master trainers, we also have the NISM director with the National Institute of Securities Market Director in the panel. At the end, we'll talk about the paradigm shift. How do we shift this entire paradigm in different ways, different time frames, and across sectors, different type of people handling and managing it. Some bank will give you, Reserve Bank will give you 3.5% rate of interest. Whether mutual fund people give the money along with the rate of interest, whether IEPFA thinks about giving along with the rate of interest, is it okay or not? If it's not okay, don't give anywhere. In one click, not only IEPFA money you should get back, you should get back to know where all your money lies. It's not that difficult. So how do we use the blockchain technology to our benefit? How do we use the AI to our benefit? These are the issues that we'll discuss. So all are not over, and I would be advocating for a comprehensive central law, a single window national registry, as you mentioned about Aadhaar enabled, along with financial institutions, reducing dormancy period to 3 to 5 years. It is different for different ones. Then nationwide awareness campaigns, which will be a sustainable one and an updated one through digital media. Leveraging technology, I mentioned. These are the things I mentioned in my working paper. We talk about different systems across the globe and what learnings we can get. That will lead us to a much better system where we have all the necessary ingredients to serve the people, to dispose of, and to dream of everything that the process that has set in the inaugural address by the previous speakers. Thank you very much. Now let's listen to people one by one. There are more than a dozen of people to speak. Thank you.
Next we have Ms. Anita Sharkela, CEO IEPFA. She will be presenting a document on Niveshak Setu. Ma'am.
Like a bureaucrat, but I thought I should take this opportunity to write a small paper on what is my vision for unclaimed asset, the entire spectrum. The growth story of India is luminous, as I say, but there's a quite a reality. Lakhs of Indians have wealth stranded in financial system, which is silently accumulating dust. They could be old savings accounts that slipped away from memory because we got transferred. Dividends that were never encashed because they used to come in those small checks, 5 रुपया 10 रुपया, उसके लिए 20 रुपया खर्च करके ऑटो में जाके कौन जाएगा बैंक ब्रांच में डिपॉजिट करने, डालो साइड में. None of us ever knew that when you don't encash your dividend, your shares move to IEPFA. And trust me, before I came to IEPFA, I never even heard about it. In my house, my parents' house, which is a 3-bedroom house, one room is full of dust. And when I try opening that, my dad says, no, don't go there. वो कुछ कागज पड़े हुए हैं. क्या कागज हैं? They're all the old shares, physical shares which are there. And that's a treasure actually, because they are Reliance ke purane shares. They are all those which probably were hardly $100 or something 20 years back and cost lakhs now. So I, as the CEO, have also gone through this. I did not know what it was till I joined IEPFA, and I'm sure I'm an educated bureaucrat, so-called joint secretary in the ministry. But I did not know about this till I joined IEPFA. Similarly, I also have some bank accounts scattered in various cities, because wherever I went, I would either have to close down the bank account. So if the bank account is closed, then I lose my dividend. Sometimes 2-3 हज़ार है, वो लाइन में खड़े रह के go beg the chief manager, please मेरा बंद करना है, help me out, this, that. Who's going to beg? It's just $3,000. Leave it. So you get transferred, because then you are in a hurry to pack up your stuff and leave, because you've got to join within 15 days. So you don't have time for all these things. And I'm sure there would be many like me. And many like me. Mutual fund में mutual fund में कुछ आया है, वो हम भूल गए. That comes in your CAMS report. You don't even know what you're supposed to do with it, because that is the level of financial illiteracy, so to say, amongst us literates, because the processes are not very well known. It's not available in a single place. Shares dividend है तो IEPFA जाना है, ये है तो इधर जाना है, वो है तो उधर जाना है. Why do I have to go to different places? Now the picture is very staggering of the forgotten wealth. It is about 78,000 crores in unclaimed shares, unclaimed bank deposit. Insurance, I'm told, I mean these are just public figures, I will not claim any correctness of this, but around 20,000 plus crores in unpaid insurance proceeds, thousands of crores, as you've already heard, in the shares and the dividends with IEPFA. There are again dormant EPF account, post office savings and mutual fund. And the amounts are probably known, probably unknown. Now, why do these assets remain forgotten? Behind every rupee that goes unclaimed, there's a human story. Families move cities, people change jobs, daughters change surnames after marriage, records are not updated everywhere. Loved ones pass away without leaving nomination for wills, leaving heirs unaware as to that an account or a policy even exists. Often one household has money scattered across various bank accounts, insurance policies, provident fund and shares, with no single view of it all. If you recall, during the COVID period, there was a campaign started to start doing the nominations and put all your things in one place, so that due to an unfortunate event during COVID, at least your successors would know what happens where. And that's when a few of us started writing down, but then even that was not properly complete. There are poor quality legacy records, fragmented regulatory silos are also responsible. A web of procedures that are making it impossible for a common citizen to stitch all the pieces together. And even when they do, The verification gauntlet, oh my God, it is designed to protect against fraud. However, it makes it very hard for a genuine claimant to succeed. And again, there is lack of awareness. What happens due to this is, of course, as I said, that the savings are denied to their rightful heirs. Financial stress during emergencies. In IPFA, I various time get कि हमारे घर में शादी है, give us our shares and dividend back. There is a cancer patient who is standing. There are some surgeries which are held up for this forgotten wealth, which really would help people. But that is so lost in a labyrinth and in a maze of regulatory processes that people find it very difficult to get it. And as a result of which, there is loss of trust in the financial institution. Trust me, I get mails every day and I read them with a lot of heartbreak that क्या कर रहा है IPFA को बंद करो, ये करो, कोई काम नहीं कर रहा है. And we are working hard. We really know how hard we work. However, it's still not enough. So there are stories of widows, of retirees, of migrants facing hurdles. Pray why? Why should anybody be put through this trouble? The current effort by regulators is so scattered. RBI has an Udgam portal for bank deposits. IRDAI has initiatives to reunite the customers with the claim. IEPFA has a search facility with a refund mechanism for the shares and dividends. EPFO has probably eased the system better and had rules for consolidation of inoperative accounts. However, these are fragmented solutions. A citizen does not live in these regulatory silos. Their lives cut across banks, insurers, pension funds, and capital market. For a family trying to gather what their parents left behind, the patchwork of portals and procedures is a maze. Now, what is missing, in my view, is a whole government framework that unifies discovery, standardizes the processes, and simplifies the claims without compromising security. There are long timelines, heavy paperwork, and at the end of the day, a citizen is really harassed. Do we need to do this to them? The whole of government blueprint, what I was looking at and what was spoken a little earlier by Mohapatraji, if we could have a national unclaimed dormant asset registry where all the things are linked in one place. So if I have a unique ID, if I have a eKYC or a PAN or something, whatever works. If I have that, I just click that and all the assets in my name across all the spectrum of regulators comes in one place. There is a similar set of procedures that can be adopted so that I can get my unclaimed assets back. It would be wonderful. So there has to be a unified claimant app and helpline. It's not just IEPFA, it has to be a whole of government approach. That's why we are all gathered here to discuss in a round table as to how we can present a policy to the government. There should be a digital succession framework which should be laid down. There should be a central name resolution service. There can be even a registry which has the nominations, etc. in one place. So, therefore, I present the vision of Niveshak Setu. This is something which is pretty close to my heart, and wanting to look at a whole of government approach. I do not know which way it would take, but then I feel that there is a lot that can be done. It would require, of course, supportive policy measures. Definition of dormant, inoperative, unclaimed must be harmonized across all the regulators. Safe harbor provisions, of course, can protect the banks and the insurers from litigation when they're making good faith payouts under standardized digital processes. The acceptance of eKYC, e-sign, e-stamp must be universal across the workflows. We need a formal data sharing arrangement under strict safeguards, and the integration with the civil registration system, as I come later, should be able to help us. Now, it is not another portal, but it's a bridge between It's between various regulators. It spans between the forgotten wealth and the rightful ownership. It is a national public digital infrastructure for reclaiming what has slipped through the cracks of time and circumstances. Rather than presenting the citizens with another silo, it promises to weave together the efforts of all the regulators, banks, insurers, depositories, and technology providers into a single coherent experience. The heart of this vision is simplicity. Discovery of my unclaimed shares and dividends or any unclaimed financial asset should feel effortless. It's like searching a familiar path rather than entering a labyrinth. The claim filing should be digital, trackable, swift, and carried out with the ease of everyday technology, inheritance and succession, which is often fraught with complexity and, more importantly, grief, should unfold with dignity and security, supported by tools that respect both the law as well as the emotion. Above all, the Niveshak Setu seeks to recast the relationship between the citizen and the state from one marked by frustration and opacity to one grounded in trust, transparency, and care. At the center of this Niveshak Setu, the core features would be One Nation, One Investor dashboard, an AI-powered discovery engine, Aadhaar-based eKYC and e-succession, and digital claim filing and tracking. Also, a real-time API integration with the regulators and the entities. It should be multilingual, but not everybody knows English and not everybody knows Hindi. So it's imperative that it is multilingual for all major Indian languages. It should be consent-driven, encrypted data handling, and there has to be a very well-assisted access via the helplines and the service center, where the motive has to be to make the processes easier for the people rather than complicate them with the huge bureaucracy. The transformative impact that I assume would come with this would be, we would be unlocking around 2 lakh plus crores of stranded wealth back into the economy. We would cut claim timelines from months to days, empower millions through digital access, deepen the trust in the financial market, and drive inclusion under Viksit Bharat 2047. What would be required? A policy and legal enablers, because that is important for it to really work. Harmonized definitions across all regulators, rules for API-based claims and digital affidavits, universal eKYC, e-sign, e-stamp acceptance, data sharing under the DPDP Act 23, and integration with the civil registration system for the death so that the nomination can take place automatically and the entity just has to search for the right nominated entity. There's no need of the succession certificate, probate, will, etc. What would be the metric of success? The citizens reunited with their rightful savings, the shrinking unclaimed pools year after year, faster turnaround times, visible trust and confidence in the institution. To conclude quickly, the challenge is fragmentation, not apathy. It's not that we don't understand, it's just that it's too fragmented, it's too labyrinthine, it's too much of a maze. Niveshak Setu is the bridge that the citizens need. Reunite families with the wealth, restore their dignity, and turn forgotten balances into living legacies. So this is what I hope is going to take us forward into the future, and that has been the reason behind this, having a round table on this, so that we all sit down together and make a beginning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was very insightful, and better than that, very organized way of thinking that will help the person, my right hand, to take it further. The ideas are there in my working paper in terms of how do we have a centralized unified agency. It's there in NCAR website. I'll finalize and publish it sometime. The figures that she mentioned, I will just take you a little forward. The 78 has now become, as I mentioned, as per annual report of RBI, is 97,000 something. The 20,000 is now 24,000 business. life is 7,522 as Mr. Nayak tells me, and 1,782 non-life insurance. Mutual fund is 1322 crore, EPF is 8,505 crore, and I just want to bring to your attention DIGC money which they want to distribute to the claimants is 2.28 lakh crore. And how much they do every year? 476 crores in 23-24. And the similar figure is there everywhere. And there are post office banks, and we have not mentioned one which we will discuss under the Provident Fund section of this discussion, is the Senior Citizen Welfare Fund, which is managed by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. I invited the Joint Secretary, maybe the Director will be here. If somebody is there by that time, we'll hear that fund also, where the insurance money goes. And small savings also goes there, EPF fund money goes. And the legal enabler, we can start with the centralized agency, as US has one. Revised Unclaimed Properties Act. We do not have any such act which binds legally that we should manage everything together. Being a federal country also, they have these 50 states, and they have a National Association of Unclaimed Properties, which is called NAPA, that's the abbreviation of it. I personally went to their website and punched to see what exactly, how easy it is. It starts with that you can put your registered ID. We don't have a registered ID, as you mentioned, Aadhaar enabled. Once we do Aadhaar enabled, once we have some legal experts to sit together and do this, then obviously that can be a very good starting point to do the rest of it. And I always say financial literacy has to be a sustained and the modern one, not the one that we do in camps. Excellent, Anita. Now, Sanjeev, please, before that, she wants to introduce.
Please join us and give your address. We have Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal as our next speaker, who will give us the overall picture.
So thank you very much. I've already spoken about the specific issues and my thoughts on IEPFA. So I'm going to take this opportunity to step back even further. There is obviously the issue about creating a unified authority, or I'm not even sure it should be maybe a new authority, maybe even a network of these existing ones that should do the job. I'm always a little suspicious of creating new bodies, since I spend a lot of my time trying to shut them down. So creating a new one for me is always a thought that I am concerned about. But anyway, however we do it, we do need to think about how not just, unclaimed shares, but also deposits, insurance, and other things. Of course, in the case of IEPFA, they should also try to figure out how to return claimed assets as well. Because, as I have written, as things stand, EPFO is almost a tax rather than a savings instrument, given how difficult it is to get your money back. I'm told that a lot of effort is now being made to simplify it, but we'll see. Now, here comes the wider issues that we need to think about. One of them is to think through our inheritance laws. Now, there is a specific issue that relates to you, and we need a conversation on this, is what to do between people mentioned in the will and those who are nominees, and who gets seniority in this. This is now a very tricky issue, leads to a lot of litigation, delays, and so on. But I think there needs to be clarity on this. There's a lot of litigation. Even Supreme Court has given contradictory, or at least at the end of it, unclear directions on what to do about this matter. Perhaps as part of your effort, you may want to think this through about what is the seniority. If I understand if there is no will, then that's the end of it. The nominee probably gets it. I don't know how it works. But there is quite a few cases where the will is different, the names in the will are different from the ones in the nominees. Or what happens if there are no nominees, and so on. So this gamut of issues relating to who is the person who is the correct inheritor is something that needs to be thought through. Then there is a whole gamut of issues related to what happens with institutional owners, particularly societies, foundations, and other such bodies that are supposed to claim these things. Because it is not uncommon in India that some of these societies, foundations, etc., themselves have kind of got lost in the course of time. So there is many societies, foundations, which was trusts, which were set up with good intentions. They have other assets. By the way, there is a whole gamut of issues about physical assets, which I'm not even getting into, land ownership and all that. That is extremely complicated. I'm not even getting into it. But there is this issue that there are these trusts and so on. And very often it's not very clear who actually runs these trusts. So for example, you have a trust, and there are some, by the way, I face this all the time because I am, as some of you know, am the chancellor of a university called Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. And I have to deal with a trust called the Servants of India Society. It's no secret that it has led to a lot of frictions. It comes out in the newspapers, so you're all aware of it. But the point of the matter is, who runs these trusts? What are the rules and regulations related to them? Very often, it all goes down to a state-led charities commissioner. These rules and regulations are different. Then there is a whole gamut of things which, as I said, not related to you, about the problem of shutting down societies. Very difficult thing to do. What happens if you shut down a society? Supposing you do shut it down, where do the shares that should have gone to it go? And so on and so forth. I'm not trying to complicate your life. I'm just trying to tell you that there is a whole gamut of other issues that we will have to solve. But at the very least, we do need to solve the inheritance law, nominee versus will issue. This is a relatively clear thing that we can solve, and I think we should be able to do. Now, one is obviously the issue that I just said, that have a unified system and so on. But you see, these authorities are all investor education fund. So some part of this money stays with you anyway. Now you have a bunch of funds that I think can be used for education. And so I think there has to be an extra effort to create videos and other ways of training people, the general public and also the specialists who are chartered accountants and so on, about what exactly is now the new system that we have invented. So please do put in an effort, all of you, to create a system of educating those who are doing it, and particularly those, okay, in the government maybe you will do the training, but at every one of these stages you are also dealing with the bank, the company, and so on. And as we were discussing over coffee, a lot of the problems actually don't happen inside the IEPFA or the RBI or SEBI. The company secretary can very often be more holy than the Pope as far as rules and regulations are concerned. And then they delay the whole process very, very significantly in this whole thing. So I think we do need to bring them on board and create some amount of awareness on their side that, being extra stickler for laws, and then of course they will get back and say, supposing I don't follow it, it is you, MCA or RBI or SEBI, who will come and then say, why didn't you follow this process? So I think some amount of trust has to be there, and maybe some precedents or procedures or something has to be created formally, so that all parties know that for, say, small claims, for example, you don't have to look at every little thing, and supposing the spelling of the name in Aadhaar card and on some other thing, instead of Sanjeev is S-A-N-J-E-E-V, it is S-A-N-J-I-V, it is not the end of the world. I think all of these things need to be done from a principle of common sense. And to say that avoidance of fraud is the reason why all of these rules exist, I'm sorry, is not good enough. I am now currently doing a lot of small process reforms across the government, and everywhere the extreme complications of the system happen because 1% of cases of fraud or whatever lead to 99% of the complications in the system. And more often than not, all that complication doesn't even solve that 1%. Because when you create a complicated system, the fraudster actually invests a great deal of money and time in understanding that system, because for them it's a multi-project thing, because they are not only going to do a fraud at once, they're going to do it multiple times. So they actually know the process better than the claimant who. So therefore, what happens is a opaque, complex system supposedly created to solve for frauds does not actually solve the fraud, but in fact perpetuates it, and also, even worse, actually creates an entire ecosystem of brokers whose job it is to get your money out, who then of course try to complicate the system in further. So in fact they will deliberately complicate and do frauds in order to create this ecosystem. So please, please, please do not come back with saying, oh my God, misuse ho jayega. Whenever I hear this misuse ho jayega, my blood pressure hits the highest possible, because it is usually a sign to me that now this whole thing is going to go under, whole effort will go under, because that 1% or half percent case will create 99% of the problem. So the Pareto law is 80-20, but for this kind of thing it is 99-1. With that, let me stop and hand it back.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Always there are new things to hear from you. Excellent ideas. Sanjeev wanted to go early, so in this session, just 2 questions, in case there are any. Maximum 2 questions will be allowed. I see the hand at the end. Yes, please. Please use the mic.
Somebody please pass on the mic.
Hello, sir. I'm representing AMNI. It's a stockbroker association. It's the largest body in the country. Now, this IEPF issue is something that we all deal with. Most of our clients are impacted with this. So I had 1 or 2 suggestions here. One is that since November 2023, all demat accounts where the shares are being transferred or to IEPF are all KRA compliant. Therefore, which means that there are 6 KYC attributes that all these demat accounts have, namely the names, addresses, PAN numbers, email ID, mobile numbers, and income range. So if at all there's any shares lying in a demat account which is active, this data is available with the KRA. Therefore, so that is one thing. So we have already mapped the bank account of that demat account. That is one. Second is that instead of what I hear is that there is a challenge in terms of transferring the assets out and then returning them back. We could instead, again, a great initiative from SEBI, in November 2021, they've started a mechanism called a blocking mechanism, wherein shares which have an obligation, for example, they've sold shares, those shares are blocked in the client's demat account. They are not transferred out until the settlement date, but they are blocked. So technically they remain in the client's demat account, but they are not free float, they cannot be used. So maybe we could explore the possibility of blocking these shares in the demat accounts instead of transferring them out and figuring out a safe way to returning them back. That may reduce our workflow.
Thank you. I was expecting a question because the next session will be on capital and banking. So you have no questions. Good suggestion. If you have from IEPFA anything to respond to that suggestion.
At one point, there was a proposal to keep it locked with the company, but then this was probably not taken as a best way forward. So for now it is on hold, but yeah, probably in the days to come, maybe if a clamor for that goes up, there could be a reconsideration, because policy is never stagnant. It keeps moving, adopting with the times. So as of today, it's not on the cards.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question opportunity lost. One more question. Yeah, okay, 2 more questions, if there are any.
So no question, but just an observation.
Please do.
I think
Somebody use the mic, ma'am. Just press that button.
I think I'm loud enough. I think what I was basically saying is that we were talking about the hierarchy pattern and the nomination vis-a-vis the owner, coming from inheritance laws. So I think legally there's no issue. It's very clear that the owner and the nominee have a very distinct position. The nominee could be the owner if the nominee is in natural class A or go petering down to class B in case there's no class A heir. But legally that issue is not really existent. The law is clear. Either the will defines or there are class A heirs, they define. Nomination is just a process to stop any fund being blocked into the respective accounts that we are talking about, and for it to be released from those respective either authorities or banks or mutual funds to a person who is then supposed to disburse those funds to the heirs as the owner had envisaged. And if the owner has not envisaged anything, then it's a fight between the nominees as well as the owners, but then the institutions are out of that bracket. That is the intention of nomination. So I think the legal procedure is very clear about it. Just an update, I think.
Okay, thanks. Any other question? Yeah. Please give him a mic.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Naveen Bhatnagar, Advocate, Supreme Court. I have been a company secretary with corporates for over two decades. The challenge which I faced largely has been the points which have been already addressed by the respective leaders. The main reverse process which I am suggesting is that let the onus be on the person per se who is requesting for the shares, dividends and all that stuff. So that could be verified by the respective chartered accountants, company secretaries, cost accountants, or maybe the advocates. I think that is a better process because I see the corporates, they have been stuck up in a lot of hassles. You have rightly pointed out, Sanjeev sir, that the company secretaries are creating a lot of issues. I think that is the practical problem for every professional. Let the reverse process be there, and that let the self-certification, that process can be on a pilot process basis. That is my humble submission. That will obviate a lot of complications from the government perspective, because that creates a lot of complications when the government process is there. I have experienced that per se, that whenever government process is there, the professionals are very skewed. They are not very confident about doing the certification. So let the reverse process start. Hundreds of cases I have seen frauds are taking place. Every corporate I have seen, I have worked over 25 corporates. I have seen the problem starts from the corporate's reverse process itself. I think there should be some thinking on that lines. I hope I am clear. Thank you.
Would you like to respond?
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think it's time to thank Sanjeev.
Before we move to the next section, I would like to request CEO ma'am to present a token of gratitude to Sanjeev sir for dedicating so much of his time from his busy schedule and for sharing so many insightful points with us. Please, may we have a big round of applause for him. Thank you, sir.
Interestingly, it also has ladders. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanjeev, from my side, especially because we are meeting after a long time. We've done so much together. Thank you.
We now start the discussion in the area of capital market and banking sector. To welcome the speakers on the dais, I would like to invite Lieutenant Colonel Srivastava. May I request DGM ma'am to kindly come on stage and welcome our next speakers. Please join me to welcome Mr. Sunil Kadam, ED SEBI. We'll invite Mr. Sunil Nair, CGM, RBI. Mr. Sunil Nair, CGM, RBI. Next we have CS B. Narasimhan, former President ICSI and Head of Financial Services Committee. Sir, please join us. India handles various departments like Office of Investor Assistance and Education, Department of Economic and Policy Analysis, Board Cell, RTI and PQ Cell, Special Enforcement Cell and matters relating to National Institute of Securities Market. Shri Kadam is an MBA from the University of Pune and is a postgraduate in Securities Law from Government Law College, Mumbai. Sir, we welcome you.
We have three sessions, basically sub-sessions. Capital market and banking sector is starting now, half an hour. Then insurance, pension, provident funds, another half an hour. And then the paradigm shift, what more we can do across sectors, there also another half an hour. So 1.5 hours from now should be okay. This is giving indirectly time limits to our speakers, not more than 10 minutes, but 10 minutes you are free to say anything. Thank you. Sunil Kadam, please.
Respected dignitaries on dais in front of me and dear friends. Thanks to IEPFA, Mohapatra sir, for inviting us for this event and giving an opportunity to interact with all of you. So broadly, I will speak about the areas relating to securities market. There are 4 points I just want to mention. One is that what is our scope, which is the area of concern and which we need to tackle. Then what are the issues which are involved, difficulties or challenges which we have, due to which this problem is occurred, and what are the things we should do going forward. So these are the areas, broad points I want to discuss. So first of all, we have identified 3 broader issues which are relating or which are attracting our attention. Is that shares of unpaid, unclaimed dividends and shares which is going transferred to IEPFA authority. And what happens after it transferred to them is being looked after by IEPFA authority. But what our efforts are now there are basically to see and ensure that these shares, first of all, do not go to IEPFA authority, and before that only if we can resolve the problem, then we should resolve it. As of now, we don't have the centralized database as to how big is this problem. But what recently, which we have done some analysis, so there are around top 47 companies, have around 4 lakhs kind of investors are there, which are having this in this bracket, which we need to immediately tackle their problems. So that's one area. Second is our mutual fund industries are there. lot of unclaimed assets are also there. And what data which we have with us is that that figure is around 3,453 crores is unclaimed asset as on 31st March. And out of that, I think mutual fund industry is doing well to identify the investors and refunding the money back to them. And last 3 years, the data suggests that around 1,800 crores has been transferred back to them. And what mutual fund industry has done is also recently started the BitTrap portal, whereby a lot of data is being shared with the investors, and investors can log in this portal and try to get their money back. In addition to that, I think mutual funds are also being added to DigiLocker system, where now identifying the person with the DigiLocker and their assets is become easier. Finding their nominees also has become easier because that is special request which we made to DigiLocker, and that way we'll try to address their concern faster. The third area which we have is the REITs and InvITs. The REITs and InvITs are the new products which is come in securities market, but still it is started generating the unclaimed assets. The REITs is a smaller part. Currently, which we have around 37 lakhs is unclaimed asset. Is the figure which we have. InvITs is around 2.69 crores. Out of that, 17.12 lakhs has already moved to IPF. Now, this IPF is different. This is SEBI's IPEF. That is IEPF. This is IPEF. So this amount goes in SEBI IPF, and difference between these two and this IEPF is that in mutual fund industry, the money which remains with the asset management companies, and they are allowed to invest that money, unclaimed money, in the liquid funds, and they get the returns on that thing. So their assets grow irrespective, it's lying with the industry. Similarly, the REITs also are invested, and their investors, when they claim back, they are eligible to get that interest on those assets. But that is one area I think want to flag is that the IEPFA, whatever money goes there, investors do not get any interest on the dividends paid there or accumulated there. Then we'll talk about some problems which we need to tackle. So first, let's understand what are the problems there. The securities market, the issues are slightly complicated compared to other financial products, because here the issues are related not only with the investor but also with the corporates, because we find there are a lot many mergers, demergers, vanishing companies, writing off assets, companies, all these things happen. The investors are not aware which is the company he is holding and which is the company now existing. So those kind of database is a major problem. Second problem which we have is that a lot many investors are old and kindly uneducated in the financial market. So that way they are finding lacking of knowledge as to how to convert their shares into, claim their shares back with them. So that's a major problem. There are many old investors are there. There are many people who have died. Their nominations are not aware where the shares are there, who is holding those shares. Those shares are in physical form. Those shares are not in their name because they are transferred, it is fine, but it's not transferred in their own name. So these are the multiple complex problems are there which we need to tackle. And therefore our challenge becomes more to not only identifying the people, but identifying the company, and connecting both the sets of people is a major problem. So that's a larger problem side which we identified. There is one more issue which happened recently, that some banks got merged with others. So the banking data or client account data also has to be changed. So that changing process has started. What I got feedback from depository, they have started that process. But there are some areas which we need to tackle, and that's one of the reason lot many checks are bounced or dividend payments are being bounced in the banking system. So that's a problem areas. Then what as a regulator which we are doing is many steps which are keep in mind in this problem. Basically what we are doing is lot of awareness which we are taking. We have recently issued many circulars to simplify the process, and there is, I think, presentation of paper of that subcommittee which suggested some changes in the simplified claims process. So SEBI already have 5 lakhs limit for the physical shares and 15 lakh shares for demat shares, which we are planning to increase it further actually, so that the not many people will benefit. As Mr. Sanyal has said, we should not be too much worried about small number of frauds. So we should be slightly flexible in increasing those limits and allow more and more people to take benefit of that measures. Then we have also kind of created a centralized debt kind of registration. Like there is a KYC registration entities are there, KRAs, which normally they coordinate all this activity, where any intermediary gets the information about the date of the client, then they centralize that and then disseminate across all the stakeholders so that information is reached to those people. There was one suggestion that Mr. Sanyal about that. No, Madam has made about a civil registration system of debt actually that she is planning. Probably we could think of attaching some kind of additional data about nominees linked to that people, so that if somebody's debt is occurred, his nominee and his holdings will get to the market. So something we can think about. Then we propose to have at least mutual fund and REITs are already doing work, but we propose to have a special drives in those areas. And third thing which we want to do is that we want to create investor awareness programs. Anyway, we started, Shibir we started, but we also want to create many e-learning models which will guide the investor as to how to claim their assets in various form and simplified form. The centralized system is very good concept. If that is implemented, we could work together to make more awareness about those ideas and concepts. As far as IEPFA, some suggestions are there. Basically, if we could increase the limit, what we propose, and make kind of intermediary free connect, like investor and company could resolve the issues maximum. That will save a lot of time. Something we can think about it. It's only my thought, but we can work it on that issues also. And yeah, that Mr. Sanyal has said, the separate processing of the dividend and shares, we could combine it. That will help. Like if you have a kind of small amount claimants, if it is successful claim, can we think of extending to all these large claims also could be covered in that thing? That combination, if you could do, we will think about it. If that some solution can come out of it. So broadly, these are the areas which I wanted to flag. Then my colleagues are there; they will share our more knowledge. Mr. Narasimhan is the stalwart in this industry. He will throw more light on these issues. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Working in a cool and contented way, you gave a lot of information and a lot of ideas. Thank you, Sunil. Next.
Next, we have Mr. Sunil Nair. He is CGM in the Department of Regulation in Reserve Bank of India, Central Office, Mumbai. Mr. Nair is a seasoned central banker with extensive experience in policy and regulation, as well as over 3 decades of distinguished service at the IRDAI, including Central Office in Mumbai and regional offices. His academic qualifications include BSc, LLB and PG in management. He has attended training programs in India and abroad and has also served on important committees and working groups at RBI. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to be part of this particular roundtable conference. Now, I heard a lot of people. I heard Sanyal ji, I heard Madam also, and now I heard my friend Sunil Kadam also, and of course the person coordinating this roundtable conference. I thought I would straight away jump into the subject, but then because when we talk of inoperative or these unclaimed, there's a little difference here, because when you talk of banks, the deposit doesn't become unclaimed immediately. It is an inoperative account for a period of 2 years, meaning that if you don't do any transactions in an account, it remains inoperative for 2 years. It is not transferred to RBI. From 2 years till 10 years, it still remains with the bank. And after a lapse of 10 years, only it gets transferred. So there is a reasonably good period available with an individual to deal with that account. If so be the case, why it happens? But I think, as Madam told, that we are all nowadays holding transferable jobs, so you go from one city to other city, you open an account in a particular city, you forget about that account, and it goes on, life goes on. So, having said so, the challenge here is little difficult. Now I want to draw your attention to one important thing. The corpus of unclaimed deposits in 2021 was 39,000 crores. I am repeating, 39,000 crores. As we speak, in 24-25, it is 97,000 crores. So a jump of 16,000 crores. So what miraculous thing has happened in the span of 4 years or 3 years to have the balance jump suddenly? I think one unfortunate incident happened was COVID. And during that period, I think many of the people lost their near and dear, and there is a possibility that some of the accounts would have been of those individuals. When I say so, I say with a very strong reasoning, because we did some analysis, and these unclaimed deposits, 86% is of retail individuals, and only 6% happens to be institutional, rest alone. So that corroborates the fact that there is a possibility that many of those accounts could be of individuals who have lost their near and dear. But the story doesn't stop there. So I think when we approached this problem, I think we broke it into 4 parts. Number one, we thought in terms of what could be regulatory initiatives which could be taken to make the life easier or to solve this particular problem. So for those of you who are not aware, obviously, because you are not kind of dealing with RBI day in and day out, so I'm not sure whether you are aware of that. We came out with the revised inoperative guidelines in 1st of January 24. Now why did we come out with the revised inoperative guidelines? There are certain activities which are allowed, then only the account remains operating. So we made certain non-financial activities, like you update your Aadhaar or you try to update your KYC, even though you are not doing any transaction, it will be treated as a activity whereby the account doesn't become inoperative. So we added certain activities, a list of activities in that particular guideline to make the life easier, because there are many NRI customers who are sitting outside. How do they kind of do that? So to help them, we enable that aspect. Second thing we did was, nowadays VCPI is allowed, video KYC. Video KYC is allowed, so anybody need not go physically to the branch, so that way it makes the life easier. Third, I think another issue which came up, banks, they have problems in terms of resources. When I talk of resources, human resources. A branch manager, poor fellow has 2 or 3 people and is running the branch. He can't be running around trying to locate the person who are having inoperative accounts. So we enabled bank business correspondents. Business correspondents who are there in the field, we enable them that they can help the banks in trying to do a re-KYC part, thereby the account becomes operative. So that was first part as far as the regulatory thing is concerned. Second, we did something on the customer kind of convenience. One of them, which I already told, was about the video KYC part. Second, again for those of people who are not aware, for banks you have got something called Indian Banks Association. They represent the banks. So they have come out with a standardized operating procedure. A standardized operating procedure for activating accounts. So there they have come out with a common application form which is applicable across the banks, and that has been started from 1st of April 2025. So we feel that this particular initiative will kind of help, because earlier it was so happening that X bank has a particular practice, Y has a particular practice, A has a particular practice. So to kind of standardize that, we asked IBA to come out with a SOP, and they have come out with an SOP, and that is again coming at the behest of FSDC kind of initiative only. So they have come out with this particular thing, which we hope that will help. And third major thing which we did was Udgam. Again, for those of you who are not aware, Udgam stands for Unclaimed Deposit Gateway to Access Information. So we launched in August 17, 2023. Around 30 banks are covered as part of this particular portal, which captures 90% of the unclaimed deposits available as on date. We can cover more banks, but when we cover, it's hardly 0.00 kind of thing, so it's not kind of taking it. So that's why we focus on these 30 banks. And anybody can access there. You have to log in, give your mobile number, get an OTP, and till date, as we speak, I think 9 lakh hits have been there, and 21 lakh odd searches have been carried out. Now, if you ask me a question whether how much has it been translated on account of the portal, I don't have an answer. Because we did not kind of enable that particular feature, it was a little difficult. But this question keeps on and off kind of coming at various fora that you have come out with a portal, but then tell us that how many have been activated, how many accounts have been activated. But that particular feature is not there, because it's not necessarily that portal would have kind of driven that, but it has been kind of successful, because we keep on hearing instances where people were able to kind of, but the major challenge here has been the consolidation of banks. We consolidated public sector banks, so in that process some of the banks lost their kind of, the entity lost its name, and then there are challenges related to that, so that again we are trying to tackle. The third part we have been doing is about customer awareness initiatives. About customer awareness initiatives, for those of you who are not aware, around 61 entities are registered with RBI, who are allowed to carry out customer awareness programs across the country, districts, villages, or everywhere. So that again is an initiative which is there for quite some time, and these entities have been doing reasonably good job. But their job is not only about unclaimed deposits; it's about financial inclusion, financial awareness. Second, we have been doing a lot of kind of campaigns. Those of your RBI says you must be hearing on the TV, or you must be hearing on the radio channels, or nowadays it's on WhatsApp also. We send messages about not only about again unclaimed deposits, about the financial inclusion part. Then there are centers for financial literacy, which our financial inclusion development department has. They also do a lot of campaigns, again not restricting to the unclaimed deposits part. Fourthly, I think it's high time we need to do some innovative kind of thing. There is a need for linking these databases. There is need of using the artificial intelligence and the machine learning. How can we kind of do something whereby, because RBI also has got regulatory sandbox, and where people can test their technology. So can that be used whereby people can access or life could be made easier as far as searches of these unclaimed deposits is concerned. I'll end with a couple of things. I think when we did some analysis, we found that amount less than 20,000 is 43% of unclaimed deposits, 20,000 to 10 lakh is 48%, and about 10 lakh is 7%. So around 50% less than 20,000. So how do we kind of make life easier? Do we think of some novel solution? Because there is a possibility that these people may not come to you at all. Because I am presuming again 20,000 is a very normal amount, but there could be people for whom 20,000 matters, and there could be people who have 20,000 across 3-4 banks, then again it matters. So, but then how do you kind of chat? Because that's an issue with other agencies also, other regulators also. So how do you kind of tackle this issue? Because, and I think the focus, what we felt was between 20,000 and 10 lakh to be the focus, which is around, again, 48%. So we are kind of trying to address that part. We have done some analysis in terms of the banks who are having these unclaimed deposits. We have done some analysis in terms of the states who are having the unclaimed deposits. So we are trying to focus a multi-pronged strategy where we focus on the banks, we'll focus on the amount, we'll focus on the states, and try to kind of drive it and see how we can challenge. But this is one part of the exercise. We are trying to tackle only the stock part. How do you ensure that flow doesn't happen going forward? So how do you ensure that this doesn't continue, because again our analysis shows that if we don't stop it, again 15-20,000 crores will keep on coming in every year. So one is the stock part, how do you address that, and other is the flow part. And I think ministry has again thought of some initiative, 3-month camp they are planning to kind of go aggressively in respect of all kind of unclaimed assets. It will be the panchayat level, like the re-KYC camps which are happening in June to September. Something is in offing, and we hope that I think will kind of, I'm not sure solve the problem, but it will kind of take us somewhere. And high time, I think we need to link the various, again many speakers spoke, the death registry or the KRA or the CIBIL or all these entities need to be integrated, because banks always say that the challenge they are facing is it is not mandatory to give a nomination. It is not mandatory in a bank to give a nomination. You can get it in writing that I don't want to nominate a person. The matter ends there. So how do you kind of take it forward? So this is possible only where you have a nominee, and if you don't have a nominee, the challenge is all the more kind of big. But I don't know, but it's high time we need to kind of sit together, brainstorm on this issue, and tackle this problem lock, stock and barrel with all regulators at one forum. We have an FSDC there, so I think they have to be the ideal place where this can be taken for. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Highly informative. Let me tell you, 36% people who have accounts, they don't know whether to fill up the nominee forms. In the insurance sector, that figure is more than 50%. So while opening the account or giving insurance, that needs to be ensured. A lot of financial awareness issues there. Thank you for updating us on all the information, and we're all waiting for the grand old man of the sector, Mr. B. Narasimhan. In terms of knowledge, yes, not in any other sense.
CSB Narasimhan is a seasoned professional with over 4 decades of expertise in securities law, capital markets and corporate governance. A former president of the ICSI of India, he has served as Central Council member of ICSI for more than 16 years and has actively contributed to committees of SEBI, stock exchanges and depositories. Known for his leadership and deep knowledge in corporate and securities management, public offerings and fundraising, Mr. Narasimhan is also a passionate speaker and educator who has addressed numerous professional forums and taught at leading management institutes across India. Sir, we welcome you.
Good afternoon. At the outset, let me thank IEPFA to have invited me to share my thoughts on this very delicate topic, but a very crucial one. Well, I have more than 30 years of experience working for market intermediaries, so I've been associated with the capital market upwards of 30 years. And most importantly, working for an industry which is the registry business, and that is their direct interaction with the investor themselves. So that tells you where I'm going to start off, and I feel I have some concrete solutions by which some of these ails, some of these difficulties which is ailing the system can be reduced if not totally eliminated. Well, the concept of moving the dividend was a wonderful one. It was happening before. It's not that it is new. But then the other one, which was a master stroke, was in terms of moving the shares as well, which were not in cash, for the dividends which are not in cash. That I would say is a master stroke, because many large corporates heaved a sigh of relief with this one effort which has been put in by the government. Having moved that, obviously it is very keen that it's not going to be rest with the government. It has to be given off to the genuine claimant. So identifying the genuine claimant was the difficult, arduous task. I think in the morning we had Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, Madam, touching upon a lot of issues which are very, very, very important. And in my view, the first thing which starts off with the claimant is what is known as IEP5, form number 5. That's a starting point where the company does an exercise of identifying the claimant is genuine or not, and that takes about 30 days. You are given time. The turnaround, TAT, if I say, is about 30 days. Then comes the most arduous task in terms of sending it across to the IEPF authority, where the turnaround time is given as 60 days, and obviously I heard Madam who said that they're already looking at how this can be reduced. So that's very important, because the 90 days is already given. 90 days is a hell of a lot of time. So this is the first step. I have been, because I was associated with the registry business and very closely working in the, I took time off to meet up with some of the senior officials in both the two registrars. One is KFintech, another one is MUFG. I just wanted my pick up their brains in terms of what they feel is ideally a solution for the problems which is ailing the system itself. So I'll touch upon that. I've already given a detailed write-up to Mr. Mohapatra, and I'm sure he will be sharing it with you all. Entitlement letter is mandatory before generation of the SRN, that is one. But sometimes SRN is directly allowed without the entitlement letter, and therefore the registrar is not able to keep track of it. Some of the objections raised by IEPF for rejection of SRN is not intimated back to the company or the RTA. I think you need to loosen up, you need to tighten up the scheme. That does not happen at all. These are factual information which I've got, I'm sharing it with you all. Upload of data for mergers, remergers, stock split. Now this is again another problem which comes in. A stock split of 10 rupee become 1 rupee, then 10 times the numbers coming in, so that has to be a very tracked, it's going to be a difficult one, there's a problem over there. Turnaround time, I think I'm very happy that you said they're already looking at it. The one other problem which the registrars say they do face is in terms of the intimation coming back for release of the securities or the amount to the investor. In other words, this can result in a subsequent claim coming in. It's not at the fault of the registrar or the company, because the information is not flowing back from the IEPF authority to them. I think I was touching upon one ABC analysis where the claim is very high, take time to do it, but where the claim is very low, then the rigors of the document being submitted can be minimized. I've already heard that it's already being done. I'm very happy that that itself will resolve at least a substantial number of cases which are pending, when the number of pending cases will come down considerably. There has been instances, very important, of the claimant passing away by the time the settlement comes in. So these are another issue which is coming up. So he has taken so much of pain to get it done, and finally you find that person is not there, so you're back to square one. So that's again a difficult one. I mean, I know there are quite a few good Samaritans who are masquerading as the cost for the small investors, going around, meeting up with the kith and kin to find out, and obviously their return is very high. This information is already there in the public domain of the company, and therefore they don't lose much time in getting it done. So this is something which, and it is said that, I don't want to blame anybody, that if you go through them, then the turnaround time for your return of money getting in is faster, which I don't want to believe, but this is some information which I... Look, the entire parody is we have got two depositories in this country. All those which are in electronic form necessarily are maintained by these two depositories, both NSDL and CDSL. Interestingly, there are only two registrars who cater to more than 90% of the investors, if I can say so. That is MUFG and the MUFG Lincoln Time and KFintech. That is for the equity or the debentures. And similarly, there are only two registrars handling the entire mutual fund industry, both CAMS and KFintech. In other words, there are three registrars who are the repository of all the investors, be it in mutual fund or in equity, unless the investor has not converted his physical shares into electronic form. So we have the repository over there. Now coming to the solution which I thought I could offer. I've been, as I told you, since I've been associated, I know the kind of difficulties we have faced, that the dividend is not able to go through because the bank account details are not correct. I can understand the problem with a physical share, where the shares are held in physical form, there is no way to connect to them. But when your shares are held in electronic form, I would feel it absolutely criminal for the money not to reach the investor at all. It's very strange that even today, that where the shares are held in electronic form, we find there are quite a number of cases where the amount is getting transferred to the unpaid dividend account and ultimately to the IEPF. As I told you, there are two depositories, and I don't think we should wait till the 7th year. Both the registrars at the end of the 3rd year itself, they find that there is a substantial number of cases that the dividend has not been encashed for 3 years. They start the exercise of identifying those investors, for which the first exercise is cleansing the data. The data at both the depositories needs to be rectified, and I know for sure when the deposit came in, it was mandatory for you to hold in electronic form. So there was a rush to open a demat account, and more importantly, you need to have a bank account. The bank account details were not provided. Each of the DP was very keen to have a business coming in, and they opened the account without properly recording the bank account. I've seen A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. So that was the bank account number. Imagine how is the dividend going to go through. So these are issues which are there. It is only a matter of time. If you are talking about AI, simple data cleansing has to be done. And once you do that, I think a substantial amount of difficulties which are being faced could be reduced, as I told you, if not eliminated. The reaching out to the investor is the most difficult one. You cannot expect the registrars to reach out to them. But since the government is also keen that the amount which is there should get paid off as quickly as possible, there is one industry which can be relied upon. Let's not forget that the postal authorities, the amount of coverage India has is enormous. So we can look at, because the funds which are there, you can earn some interest out of it, which can be used for these expenses to be paid to the post office to identify and search out the investor where he is staying. The address is known. Whether we can work out on those lines where the possibility exists that the numbers will go down. So these are my quick thoughts on what can be done from our side, how we can reduce the difficulties which we are faced with. I'm sure you would have taken note of it, and I'm very happy if I could be associated in any of the activities which you want to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Narasimhan. Because I had expected a lot of ideas. Now we finish this subsection of capital market and banking sector. Yeah.
So we can
So
open
complete
the
the
floor
formalities.
for the discussion. We can open the floor for discussion. Coordinators,
Yeah.
please.
She has a question.
I have some queries as well as some responses.
Please.
Yeah, thank you very much for the very insightful session. A few responses and a few queries again. Insofar as the integrated portal is concerned, now the issue is likely to come down for the share and dividends would be done at the same time. However, there are certain problems because the money goes into the consolidated fund. So when you are taking out the money from that fund, there are certain processes which are involved, which we are working to simplify. In fact, in the evening, I've been called for a meeting at 3 o'clock to work out the simplification. So hopefully the dividends shall also start going faster. And another issue which you've raised is that postal authorities thinks, yes, that's a wonderful idea. In fact, we have a thing known as Niveshak Didi, a small scheme that we've started around for investor awareness. So to start with, we will also put in this, but they usually go to the villages and all that. We see how it can go to bigger cities and try and work that out. One thing I would like to clarify is that IEPFA does not earn any interest on the amount which is deposited in the IEPF fund. It is a non-interest bearing public fund deposit. So, but however, we do have certain set of monies which are unclaimed because to whom it belonged was never known. We do have that, and the government is also willing to fund that. And we are proposing, as somebody had pointed out, that the government is now proposing to have financial inclusion workshops where all of us across the unclaimed sector would be partnering with the banks, because the banks would be our model for doing this work, and all of us will be partnering with them to go to each of the cities, towns, villages to let people know, make people more aware of the unclaimed assets that remain. Sir, I was really very happy listening to you, Sunil Nair ji, to know what all initiatives have been taken up by the banks. Just one small thing, as a small investor, I would like to say, as a common man now, I had some amount in some bank in some city and I got transferred out. And I did get a mail from the bank that your money is there and kindly pick it up and all that. But that's in another city. Now that money is hardly 3,000 bucks. So you want me to spend 20,000 rupees to go there, stay there, get access to that bank and come back. So sir, that is where you need to ease the process for all of us. I'm just talking as a common man here, that there are issues still. I mean, and Unclaimed portal ideally should also help us to recover and reclaim those inoperative accounts, or at least show us the processes by which this can be done. In fact, in the IEPFA search facility, though we made a search facility, there is a search facility. Our next step is going to be that once you found your folio claim, etc., once you found your folio and your bank and your company name, etc., you should be able to file your IEPF5 form right from there itself. So that's one thing. Insofar as the entitlement letter issue is concerned, the reason why we have not made it mandatory was that a lot of times people tell us that the RTAs are troubling them for getting an entitlement letter. So that is the reason we said, all right, we will not make it mandatory, but probably we could discuss that further in the next set of reform. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. This is not a small issue. Actually, this will involve many people across the country. How do you get back your money deposited in hundreds or thousands only, being in the other city or being abroad also?
I think what Madam pointed out was it is a search facility as of now, and it tells you in which bank it is, and then it can connect you to that bank. But then it doesn't kind of give a facility where online the amount gets credited. That is what we are working on, how to kind of connect that end-to-end.
KYC will be online.
Yeah,
with that bank.
Yeah, end-to-end we are trying to work out. So we did that first step. So we are hearing a lot of people saying that can you do this end-to-end kind of thing. So we are working on that solution very forward. Thank you.
Additionally, Mr. Narasimhan wants to respond. Yes.
I think I'm loud and clear. I don't need this. I mentioned is that, sorry. Yeah, the purpose of getting some interest is that you don't have to invest 100% of it. Maybe you can look at the government easing out where even 10%, because the post office is not going to do this service free of cost. At 10% of the deposit which is going over there, that will yield a substantial amount of interest for you to run this business of contacting the people. Getting contact with the people is the first point. If the postman is the most familiar person with the addressing, and he has been doing it day in and day out. And whatever, how many years it may lapse, but the postman is the same. Therefore, the advantage of getting to know whether the person is there or where he has shifted, sometimes that is also available because they redirect the new. Therefore, I thought whether you can get some interest by which, there is no free lunch, and therefore you look at how the post office can also get benefit out of it. Thank you.
I think you can see our we invest in government securities, and that is how we are paying 3.5% rate of interest when a claimant comes back. The rate and amount has been transferred. We pay 3.5 because we invested in government securities, so it's absolutely safe.
Our money just goes into the consolidated fund. That's about it.
That is true. There's government.
Thank you very much. Capital and banking is the most important and major sector, so we took a little bit major time also. But it is very interesting, and I think the video conference earlier has helped. Everybody have really got into the crux of the matter and given solutions. Thank you, the three of you, and now we'll go to the next session, please.
Before that, may I request Ms. Veni Thapar ma'am, board member IPFA, to please join me and let us give a token of gratitude as a gift to our speakers of this session. Let's have a round of applause for all the three speakers of this session. We'll start with Mr. Sunil Kadam, ED, SEBI. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Next, we have Mr. Sunil Nair, CGM, RBI. Thank you, sir. Lastly, we have CSB Narasimhan, former President ICSI. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. To welcome the next speakers on the dais, may I request CS Manoj Purve, Council Member ICSI, to kindly join me. We will welcome Ms. Sumit Kaur Kapoor, ED, PFRDA. We'll start with insurance, pension and provident fund sector now. We will welcome Ms. Sumit Kaur Kapoor, ED, PFRDA.
There is also representation from Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, but I have got a request from the director who is attending in place of the Joint Secretary, requesting not to be in the dais, but he will participate in the discussion sitting downstairs. Can he come to the front table first? Mr. Praveen Sharma.
Next, may I request CS Suresh Pandey, Council Member ICSI, to welcome Mr. R.K. Nair, former member IRDAI, on the dais. Welcome you, sir. Okay, we can start with this session now. And I'll just check with them.
Thanks, I think each of you will have 10 minutes, and if we can start with Madam Kapoor to talk about pension sector in general, not only NPS, but overall view about the pension sector, which is much bigger than only NPS. Please.
Mrs. Sumit Kaur Kapoor is an experienced financial sector professional currently serving as Executive Director in Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. She has been a director on the board of NCFE with a demonstrated history of working in the banking and pension industry. She is skilled in banking, credit analysis, commercial banking, policy making, communication and financial risk management with special focus on pension sector. She has represented PFRDA on various national and international forums, including the World Bank and International Organizations of Pension Supervisors. The setting up of subscriber contribution protection account in PFRDA was undertaken under her leadership. She is currently heading the UPS department in PFRDA beside others. Please.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. So I think the whole day we have been discussing the unclaimed deposits in the various sectors, and we have seen its magnitude in the security market and the banking sector, and even Sir told about DIGC. What all steps are being considered to reclaim these unclaimed deposits, because they offer a vast potential. They are locked inside, which can in fact be a spurring point for initiating something in the economy, and it can also help those small families who are looking forward to these small amounts that have been locked away because of some reasons. Now, talking of the pension sector, actually pension sector is a very nascent sector. So we just started off in 2004, and this is basically an employer-employee relationship. Because the pension funds, the contributions come in from the employers. So there is some kind of a link between the subscriber and the account through the employer. Secondly, it is a very long-term product. The vesting period is very long. So the contributions that come in continue to be vested normally till the age of retirement, that is 60 years. And in case of NPS, it has been done till the age of 70 years. And you can continue to withdraw it till 75. So the vesting period is very long. So they continue to be, invested till the person actually needs it, does a premature withdrawal, or actually retires. So these are two major reasons why we do not still have unclaimed deposits to that extent. Our unclaimed deposits are very, very minuscule, and they are the contribution amounts that somehow did not have the magic data from the subscribers. So this was in the earliest years of PFRDA, when we had that Swavalamban scheme. That's a very small saving account scheme in which the contributions used to come in very small amount, 100 per month or 200 per month. That was the contribution or the magnitude in the Swavalamban scheme, and it lasted till 2015. So that was an aggregator-based scheme in which the subscriber himself did not approach the POP. The aggregators used to collect it from the small savers and then give it on to the system. And that was, remember, it was the pre-Jan Dhan account era, and it was also the era in which the technology probably was not so developed, and the eKYC and everything was not there. So in that era, when the aggregators passed on the contributions without passing on the subscriber data, is what led to unclaimed contributions in our system. But the amount is very minuscule. It's to the tune of only 74 lakhs today. So therefore, what pension sector has today, at least NPS has today, is a very, very minuscule amount. And what we target and what we learn from here is basically to see how we are not able to propagate it. As the system evolves, there would be cases where there would be unclaimed deposits, and we understand that, and we'll have to deal with it. But today, I think it is the prevention that we are focusing on. And I think there are 2 or 3 points which I captured by discussion here. The pension sector, the banking sector, or the capital market probably does not have nomination which is compulsory. In case of NPS, we made the nomination compulsory from 2015. So after that, because the nomination has become compulsory, at least we know the nominee who's there in the system in case the person expires. So I think that is a good, that is a redeeming factor in case of NPS. Secondly, the mobile number was also made mandatory from 2015. So some of these features would help in prevention of the accumulation of the unclaimed deposits. So I think prevention is one thing that we need to do. But before that, what is the reason for rise of these unclaimed deposits? Number one is lack of awareness. Definitely, we've talked all about it, and financial and investor awareness is one of the greatest priority for PFRDA also. And we have been doing extensively webinars for UPS today, for NPS. We have a training agency that indulges in the training of the subscribers. So extensive training being there. And the poor record keeping is one of the major reasons. We have seen that in case of unclaimed deposits here. So the record keeping of the aggregators was not up to the mark, they could not pass off the information. So if we could have a robust record keeping, that would prevent a lot of unclaimed deposits. Now in this, I think it is very contextual to talk about what we call as an aggregator system, account aggregator system, and the CKYCR. I think that has a very lot of relevance here. Suppose we were discussing a person who moves away from one city to the other, leaving behind an account. And now we have a system called CKYCR, so that if another regulated entity updates that account in some other city, the KYC is updated somewhere else. Suppose there is a change in a surname, or there is a change in the mobile number, or there is a change in the address, that regulated entities, the other regulated entities also have to update that through the CKYCR. I think if that system is implemented effectively, that would really help in connecting all the accounts together. Second is the account aggregator. If the people start subscribing to account aggregator, it's very voluntary today, it's consent based. But if people start, subscribing to that voluntarily, and if the KYC, as we said, through CKYCR is done properly, then the entire gamut of accounts throughout the financial sector will be visible to them, even those which have been skipped, which have gone out of their radar. So those will also be available. So I think this is also another way of prevention of unclaimed deposits, which we have forgotten. Third one is the nomination, the nominee knowing that they have been nominated for certain accounts. I think for some reasons we keep the nominee confidential. The nominee themselves are not told that they are nominees to a particular financial account. I think that thought has to change somewhere. The nominee should also know that they are nominated to certain accounts, and their addresses. Today we just write the nominee. Their entire detail or profile is not available with the regulated entity. If that is available, and in case that we were discussing the death registry is somehow connected to the financial sector and it triggers an information flow to maybe the CKYCR, then this triggering would help in the regulated entities actually knowing that they have this person has passed away and they need to reach out to the nominee in case the nominee does not know. So if somehow this flow is connected, the dots are connected to each other, this will again be a reason for preventing the unclaimed deposits. Now, I think we have talked about regulatory changes and combining all the regulators coming together to one platform, simplification, and we have discussed the Niveshak Setu here. Then there is a lack of centralized database which needs to be done. The regulators, of course, are doing their thing. The DigiLocker thing by SEBI, I think, is a very great initiative in which the nominees can come to know, if all the financial sector assets are available in through the DigiLocker, and the nominee comes to know that, okay, this is the financial asset that is available to them. It's a great initiative. Then I think another way of preventing money from becoming unclaimed is the regular account activity. I think I can think of an example myself in which one of the accounts that I was maintaining only had an FD, and I was not doing or only had a locker, and I was not doing any other regular activity in that particular account. So a mail that triggered which said your account is going to become dormant, and therefore I initiated a small kind of a transaction there just to make it prevent it from becoming unclaimed. Would be the reason you could do it. I think I will just quote from a couple of the international practices in which a strong audit mechanism in US also helps to prevent unclaimed deposits, because they go to the root cause analysis as to why the accounts have become unclaimed, and there is a lot of uniting of the unclaimed deposits with the depositor in case of US. In case of United Kingdom and Kenya, they are keeping a portion of the funds of the unclaimed deposits, like 40% in case of United Kingdom, and the rest are used for certain purposes. However, it is ensured that this particular fund that is kept, anybody who claims that money is able to get that money. So they calculate the ratio in which this will be kept in that unclaimed deposit account, and the rest can be used for certain purposes. I think that is also a thought which could be used for unlocking the potential of these accounts. And finally, the interest-bearing part. We have kept our unclaimed deposits in a separate account, which is the subscriber contribution protection account, and that is an interest-bearing account, and we do pass on the savings interest rate to the subscriber. So I think these are some of the...
Thank you so much for the detailed one. Yes.
Next we have Mr. R.K. Nair. Firstly, thank you, sir, for coming here all the way from Bangalore. He is a financial sector expert with over 4 decades of experience in banking, capital markets and insurance regulation. He served as ED at SEBI, where he played a pivotal role in strengthening mutual funds, corporate debt markets and investor protection frameworks. Later, as member Finance and Investment at the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, he spearheaded key reforms in insurance investments, corporate governance and international regulatory cooperation, representing India at global forums such as the IAIS and World Bank, IMF, FSAP. His extensive board-level experience with leading banks, insurers and financial institutions further reflects his deep commitment to financial market development and investor protection. Sir, please come and give the address.
You will span across capital market and insurance, both former SEBI ED and member IRDAI. Please keep it short.
I think I will not stand between you and lunch. We've got another session to go. And my special thanks to Mr. Mahapatra for convincing me to come all the way from Bangalore. I have a credit committee meeting at the ICICI Bank tomorrow. So I'll just go from here to Bombay and come back. And then I spoke to my old colleagues in IRDAI and got a write-up to you. And we have done work on the unclaimed deposits. And I sit on the board of an insurance company and a board of a bank and a mutual fund also. So I'm looking at it from a different angle now. I'm looking at it from a governance angle there. And I can tell you that, I'll not get into a lot of, I can give you some solutions and what we are doing at the board level to, reduce the problem. So one, unclaimed deposits in insurance is not a big problem because the insurance sector opened up only in 2001 and the major part of the unclaimed amount is with the public sector companies, the Life Insurance Corporation and the public sector. Overall it is about 10,000 crores, out of which 9,000 crores with the PSUs and 1,000 crores with the public sector. But I think the IRDAI did an exercise of cleaning up the regulation itself and a lot of items, I think it came down over a period of time and they put a governance system in place where there's a customer service committee which actually overlooks this and also the audit committee which looks at the figures every quarter. So I think the accountability for reducing this comes from the top. If the board is on top of it, I think the problem can be solved. Even in the banks, I find that the Reserve Bank, I sit on the board of ICICI Bank and there I've seen that the Reserve Bank inspection, they focus a lot on this area. And then we put it as a part of the KRA of the top management itself, saying that, look here, if you don't perform here, you don't get your bonuses. And then it percolates down, And we have seen this problem actually coming down a bit. But as Mr. Sunil Nair mentioned, COVID was a problem and, it actually exploded and the amount actually went up. But I can say a lot of work is being done in reducing this amount by the Reserve Bank and the in SEBI I was handling Mr. Sunil Kadam's portfolio itself. And there itself we did a lot of work and there was a committee set up by Mr. Damodaran at that time to how to reduce this problem of transmission of shares. And I headed that committee and we gave a report and it got accepted. And there I think we made it mandatory. In a sense, we said that if somebody doesn't want to do a nomination, you will have to say positively, I don't want to do a nomination. And we reduced the kind of paperwork up to 5 lakhs. And I think that is still going on. So the problem in the insurance sector is not too great. The unclaimed amounts, as most other regulators, goes to a fund and they earn interest. the thing is that how do you reduce there was a problem before 2007 when the data was an issue. The data was not proper and the dedupe of data didn't happen properly. After 2007, the problem is not there. So the problem is for 6-7 years, and of course the legacy problem of public sector, which is very old. LIC is 1956, and the insurance companies in the general insurance are very old, 72 onwards. But my own view is that we got a lot of ideas, and we got a lot of data, a lot of figures. I think Mr. Mahapatra can write a thesis on this issue, on how to manage this. But I must say that the sessions by Madam Anita and Sanjeev Sanyal were very, very interesting and informative. To me also, I have retired 10 years back as a regulator. Now I am doing more of governance, and therefore I got a lot of understanding at the policy level what things are happening. I sat on the IEPF before, as you rightly said, it was headed by a joint secretary. We used to meet very... okay. But then it was not a formal authority at that time. It was a fund. And the secretary of the company affairs, as a SEBI ED, I was, I think, ex officio member. And I used to religiously make it to the meetings. And we did discuss a lot of I remember Mr. Bandyopadhyay was a secretary, and he should take a lot of interest in ameliorating the problems there. So all of us are concerned, but how do you make it happen? Mr. Narasimhan also came out with some great ideas because the depositories and the register. But my own thinking is that it should be made a KRI of the top management. So the CEO is made accountable, and then actually the flow, the flow stops. The stock will remain, and how do you manage the stock? The stock is a problem because data is not there, and with Aadhaar and kind of connecting all the dots, I think we can reduce the problem a bit. So I must once again thank you very much, sir. I will not take more time. Thanks to the IEPF also for inviting me. I think it's nostalgic because I should talk all these sessions 15-20 years back, and then coming back and meeting old friends, a great idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nayak. Being in ICICI Bank board doesn't make you an old person. Even today you are contributing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's close this session.
Discussion. We can open the floor for discussion if anybody has any question.
Or else I would like us to move to the other session, which will be much more interesting and cover all aspects. So keep yourself reserved for the questions. Yes.
May I please request C.S. Pavan Chandak sir, Vice President ICSI, to please come on the dais. We will be presenting the gifts to our speakers. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for contributing. We have Ms. Sumit Kaur Kapoor, ED, PFRDA. Mr. R.K. Nair, former member, IRDAI. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Moving on to our last part of the RTC on paradigm shift, unlocking the potential of ideal assets and efficient service delivery. To welcome the speakers on the dais, I would request Ms. Priyanka ma'am, AGM IEPFA. Please join me in welcoming the speakers of our last session. We have Mr. Dhirendra Kumar, Board Member IEPFA and CEO, Value Research. Sir, please join us. Next we have Shri Shashi Krishnan, Director, NISM. Lastly, we have Ms. Savitri Parekh, Nodal Officer, Reliance Industries Limited. Welcome, ma'am. To start with, we have Mr. Dhirendra Kumar. He is the founder and CEO of Value Research, India's leading independent personal finance and investment information and research provider. He is one of the members of IEPFA board. Value Research has been in this activity since company's inception in 1990. Over the last 30 years, he has gained a unique perspective by closely observing the birth and growth of the modern Indian fund industry and by interacting with and helping thousands of investors. He is also on the advisory committees of SEBI and PFRDA. He is a popular columnist and commentator in the print electronic media with regular appearances in newspapers and TV channels. Mr. Dhirendra is a graduate in business studies from the University of Delhi. Sir, I would request you to kindly come and address.
So Dhirendra has a real interest and expert in mutual fund, quite concerned about investors. Please pick up that hat more than a IEPFA member hat so that we know the real problems and real solutions more.
Yes, I have been in the business of interacting with investors as part of my profession which accidentally came my way, and thank you for this opportunity. There's hardly anything left to talk about. So many interesting ideas. Anything which was crossing in my mind has been talked about in such great detail, with nuts and bolts. It's and more so. Somebody from the government comes and says that he's driving these changes to simplify things. Was very inspiring. But still, I think that there is something which has not been talked about in great detail, and why the whole thing matters. Why this investment is postponed consumption, and if postponed consumption is unretrievable, it is a great deprivation. And if the scale of great deprivation or the scale of stuck assets is of this kind in a country like ours, just our ability to liquefy it, the kind of, because when I think of it in terms of why it matters, for household, these are school fees, this is hospital bills, people are in stress. When I look at the scale of borrowing against their current income, or that, future income getting mortgaged today, I think that is so money that belongs to families and not fives, and this has to be looked upon, looked very differently and very intensely, simply because it is somebody is well stuck in fives, and they are struggling. When it comes to for markets, yesterday I had a very unusual interaction with an individual, and that comes to my mind that why this is a tragedy of a disproportionate kind. I came across a person who is about 63-year-old. He has worked for Tata's all his life, different companies. He's a chartered accountant, so he's financially sophisticated and also understands the legitimacy. And he said that he doesn't have a demat account, and he has not invested in mutual fund. And he has only held real estate over a period of time, and it has been a decent experience. But two of his big investments in these, the Delhi settlement or NCLAT cases, two of his sizable things are stuck. If this is the state of a person, or a state of mind of a person, this I think is a tragedy of sorts. It is depriving people of an opportunity. This is what money was created for. This is why central bankers existed. This is when the humanity moved from barter to currency and then investments and productive assets. If we are unable to think of it like this, this is a huge deprivation. And locking our assets into unproductive assets simply because it scares us. We can't access it on time. So this is something which we should keep in mind. So this, for markets, it is, friction in claims creates, friction in participation. For governance, this citizens judge institutions by outcomes. If there are people, and when we had the morning session, and these many steps, and somebody is not held accountable for causing this, these speedy outcomes, my ability to access my money. So what are, I was just trying to jot down some first principles. Of course, great ideas came out in the discussion about all the things being done in different domains to ease the pain or reduce the friction. But one thing which, to my mind, comes very easily is that everybody should have a bank account. And closure of bank account, access to that. We have an example here. Our mobile number, we can have that and we can change our operator. Why not phone? Why not a bank account? One bank account where I don't like a bank, I can move my account from one bank to another. But that is one nodal account where all my proceeds will come. This, to my mind, will actually substantially reduce the ability of somebody's money or the traceability or its ability. And that bank account can also ease all this succession and the nominee things that we are talking about. So one simple thing, and in a country where the digitization, in fact we are among the very few countries where this mobile number portability started working very efficiently with ease, and it happens with 3 SMS. So if we have an example here, and talking of banks, bank is no longer a place where people go and queue up to take their money. It's now a digital entity, and if it's a digital entity or repository of your transactions, that 15-number bank account can the portability itself can ease 80% of the problem. Of course, every banker will have a problem that the lock-in of a customer which comes with that will be disturbed. But business interest apart, I think that looking at the larger good, it looks way too promising, given that we have precedence of such a thing succeeding with this. So I was just, because everything has been talked about, so I have hurriedly put together 5 principles. Because I have been invited here, that what are the first principles we should have, and I will now try and contribute a little bit more actively, given the context of what was the conversation in the morning. That there are only 5 things which comes to my mind, and if we are guided by the principle, we will not be working tactically. We will not be getting distracted by the procedures and this, and this has been a problem. This has been a problem because most of the things we have inherited a process and we have just carried on with that. In fact, the bank opening, when you come across that that account opening form, and then you look at the digital forms, they are awful simply because it's trying to replicate digitizing something which was meant for manual processes and making a mess of it. Likewise, we have seen many things without being thoughtfully reconfigured or rethought, given the context or the change complexion of things. So what comes to my mind is, of course it is non-negotiable that rightful owners first. Public use of floats, may exist, may not, but here is the idle money. Also, I fail to understand that what was being talked about a little while ago, that the dividend which is lying there, and it is rightful of the guys, the people who are the real owners, to get some meaningful return. What you said that, it is parked in that. Government of India, if it actually has taken or, possessed those assets, it is saving on the interest. If it is 30,000 crore float, then it is very much, it's duty of the government to really give it to the rightful owner. The entitlement, because look at it as an opportunity cost. Government is always a borrower. And this authority actually gets all its money from the budgetary allocation. So it can well be demanded legitimately for the sake of the constituents.
to have it. This is something which came out of this discussion, that we should have a unified mechanism. When somebody works, somebody invests, and all his lifetime, and when he really needs it, it is all scattered all over. And if you have to go to 20 places, might as well you would have forgotten. Unified entrance for EPFO, mutual fund. Of course, securities market has been unified reasonably. But if we are coming across a situation that REITs, which is such a new thing which has come into the market, that is now getting unclaimed thing. So it actually makes me think that where is the problem? Why this is, I think it will be worthwhile to figure out that why this has happened in the first place. If we keep doing what we are doing, we will have a bucket with a hole, keep fixing things and it will keep leaking. We must ensure that we prevent that it stops happening from here on. And what I think all the effort should be, mounted there, so that we don't let the problem balloon any further. There is one thing remarkable that I have experienced recently, and in some of our services, we have integrated it in my company for aggregating. This account aggregator enabled by RBI is quite a magical thing. And the way it has been able to aggregate recently, to my own surprise, I'm in the middle of the financial market, I've been a long time investor, and I've been able to happily and recover some of my assets which I didn't know, because long time ago there used to be something called Section 88, and this UTI and other people, you could invest a maximum of rupees 10,000 rupees, and in those days KYC was not that stringent, and PAN was not mandatory. So in having lost, the legacy is one bit. Ensuring that we don't build any messy legacy from here on is one aspect. And using the technology to the hilt. So these are some of the thoughts which comes to my mind, which could be, very interesting, magical. And maybe if we are able to put some of these variables in place, maybe 5 years down the line we should have a vision that, we should be able to abolish this Protection Fund Authority. Thank you. Not in terms of no malintent. I'm just thinking that if things are done in such a manner that it may not be needed, and that will be a great thing.
Thank you very much for your earnest wish and interest and problem-solving attitude. May I request Madam Savitri to make a presentation? She has contributed on the report of low-value cases, how they have eased out. Be a little precise, ma'am.
Ms. Parekh brings over 30 years of corporate experience and currently serves as the Company Secretary and Compliance Officer of Reliance Industries Limited, and is also a regular speaker at professional and academic forums. She chairs the Governance Committee of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce, serves on SEBI expert panels and working groups, and has been instrumental in regulatory simplification, including processes for IEPF claims. A recipient of the prestigious scholarship for young Indian lawyers, she trained in the UK on competition and corporate law, adding to her global outlook and expertise.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon. In fact, I feel very privileged that I'm going to be speaking about the report of the working group, and you did hear about it in the morning from the Joint Secretary. This is one where we are very hopeful of the process getting more efficient and the claims getting settled in a speedier manner. The members of the committee are named on the screen. I was a representative on behalf of FICCI on the working group. Talking in terms of the background, all of you are aware that in case dividend is not claimed for a consecutive period of 7 years, then the shares also would get transferred to IEPF. Earlier, of course, the provision was only with respect to dividend which has been unclaimed for 7 years, but under Companies Act 2013, effective 2016, the shares also get transferred to IEPF. And of course, what happens when you claim? If it's a low value claim, they also stand in the same queue as others who have much larger value. Just to give an idea, of course, there was a talk about the different figures. If you just look at the top 12 private sector organizations, I'm just leaving out the public sector companies, but if you look at only the private sector organizations, then the portfolio of shares with IEPF, as we speak today, based on 5th September closing prices, is upwards of 20,000 crores. This is only the shares. Of course, they are not in a position to sell it or capitalize it, but it actually shows that there are persons who are entitled to these shares, which is lying with IEPF. What's a low value claim? The working group debated, discussed on it, and we of course had to make a distinction between shareholders holding shares in physical form or claimants of shares which are held in physical form vis-a-vis the one in DMAT. DMAT, it's a little easier comparatively. Of course, I must quickly add that if it's a case of transmission, it's not much different, but at the same time, there's at least one level of check that happens when a person opens a DMAT account. Hence, there's a difference in the limits. So if it is a physical share, then the low value claim would be shares of a value not more than 5 lakhs. And in case of DMAT, the figure is 15 lakhs. For dividend, we've looked at a figure of 10,000 rupees, which also is actually on the higher side, but at the same time, in case of large companies, probably it would come to a figure almost around this level if a person has not claimed for a long time. What are the challenges faced by the claimants? If you are a low value shareholder or rather a shareholder holding shares of a low value, not more than 5 lakhs, let's take physical shares. Typically, as I said, you stand in the same queue as the one of large value, so processing time is just the same. But more than that, in terms of documentation, the cost-benefit analysis is one which even the Joint Secretary mentioned about. You need to get affidavits which need to be notarized, and of course they need to be of stamp paper, and the stamp value in our different states is different because a stamp is covered under the concurrent list. So while you have the central center which is entitled to legislate on this, even the different states have different values. Consider the plight of a person who was originally, let's say, in Manipur, but is now staying in Bangalore. Manipur, on an indemnity, you would pay only 100 rupees stamp value, while in Bangalore, since that's the place where you're executing, it would be 500 rupees. And this person sends it for 100 rupees, gets it back, and the whole thing goes on and on. Similarly, indemnity. If it's an indemnity, it has to be on a stamp paper. Gazette notification if there's a change in name. Mr. Sanyal spoke about SANJEEV and SANJIV. This is of course something which SEBI in one of its committees has already considered this. There's an industry standard forum where we have come up, I was a part of the forum, and we've come up with minor mismatches in name, and if it is just this, then based on additional documentation, it will be permitted. But having said that, when Ganguly and Gangopadhyay are actually the same in Bengali, so how exactly does one deal with it? Of course, it's heartening to note that that's been covered in minor changes in name. But having said that, if your papers are completely in a different name, which happens with very often where you change your name because of numerology, you need to then give a gazette notification. So if it's a low value claim, these are the kind of documentation which proves to be a major challenge. But from a company's perspective, one of the major risks, company and the RDA are worried about fraud risk. And unfortunately, there have been few brokers in the market as well as frauds which have happened, and every time there is a misuse, you then tend to once again relook at it. However, all these points have been considered by this working group, and we felt that based on our experiences, we should come up with a limit which takes care of the requirements of all the stakeholders in this ecosystem. So, what are our recommendations? Waiver of few of these requirements of difficult documentation, affidavits, notarization of indemnity bonds also, and in few cases, even the gazette notification will be dispensed with, provided there is adequate proof linking the person, because it's very essential to identify the person to the claim, to the shares. Now this becomes a major challenge because while SEBI had mandated requirement of a PAN to invest in shares, this mandate was made effective from 2007 September. But the share market has been functional from well before that, and we still have a lot of cases where you do not have the PAN. Like for example, in physical cases, you will find that 70% of the holders have not been KYC compliant and they have not given their PAN numbers. At the same time, even with respect to DMAT, there are about 4 crore DMAT accounts in our country. But having said that, even there you do find cases which are non-active, where PAN number is not registered. So if you do not have a common parameter to link it, you then need to have additional documentation. But having said that, low value claims will be moved up as an IEPF express claim, giving them a separate series of SRNs so that they move up. Timelines have also been prescribed. Companies would get 45 days to process, which presently is 30, but since the company is now going to take on full responsibility, as this would be under STP, straight through process, is the reason the companies would get 45 days to process and IEPF authorities would clear it within 30 days. So from 90 days, 30 plus 60, the timeline would get reduced to 75 days, 45 plus 30. So the express claims, as I mentioned, documentation going down, this would be a major benefit to the investors, to the claimants. It could be the original shareholder who's the claimant who had not claimed his dividend, or it could be in the event of an unfortunate demise of the original shareholder, it could be the family members or the legal heir. The requirement of KYC, which was also mentioned, over a period of time, maybe in the next phase, we would actually want digital authentication to be done, and also to have a system very similar to that of the mutual funds, where you do a KYC authentication dipping into the mutual fund system. In fact, on the aside, I was also talking to Mr. Kadam about this. This is something which can be very easily explored and would certainly yield good results, because when it comes to mutual funds, the database is absolutely complete and it is PAN enabled. If you are able to have Aadhaar and PAN seeding in all the accounts, we will over a period of time not have any cases to be transferred to IEPFA at all. The purpose is, even if IEPFA shares have to be transferred to IEPFA, can we have a proactive system where we are able to send out a mail saying that you have shares in IEPFA, why don't you claim, these are the documents. This is the way we would like it to evolve over a period of time. Let's take a quick look at the journey of a claim. In fact, the second last box, today I've just started with IEPF 5 being filed. We do have an entitlement letter which is obtained by the claimant concerned. As was mentioned in the inaugural session, there are 24 steps. I've just crunched it into 6 boxes. And what, based on the recommendations of the working group, what actually is going to happen is the company's electronic verification of claim is going to be taken as final, which means there will be no further processing by the IEPF authorities, and therefore there would be considerable saving of time, because in any case the company is responsible as per the IEPF rules for the verification which is done by the company. So that box slipping away in the next one actually is going to lead to a huge amount of saving in time, and it's a win-win for all the stakeholders, because this, if you look at the breakdown of cases, at least 60% of the claims belong to small shareholders. Low value claims account for 60% of the total claims. About 15 lakh accounts have been transferred to IEPFA, and if we are able to release the ones which have already been applied, of course it's not all 15 lakhs who have applied, but of the cases who have applied, 60% belong to low value claims. So in short, what we've done away with are the two main documents which are shown in highlighted yellow here. So the form remains the same, but except that it will be in the integrated portal which will be launched very soon. Right now it's under UAT. An undertaking would replace the notarized affidavit and indemnity. So instead of all these complex documents, the undertaking will form part of the IEPF 5 claim itself, so that in case the details given are not correct, you go back to the person just based on the undertaking. Aadhaar and PAN is required presently. Of course, it will continue to be required even later. Proof of address will also need to be given, and self-attested documents rely on what the claimant says unless he's proven wrong, is the way the IEPF claims would now be settled. I actually would like to end by sharing a personal experience of mine, not in terms of a claimant, but talking in terms of claimants. Most of them are not even aware that the monies belong to them. And I remember when I was in Pidilite, I got a call from our gate one day saying that a person had come and he wanted to hand over an envelope. And one of my team members went to meet this person, and he apologized profusely, saying that there was an envelope which he found in his house. His grandfather had passed away, and his grandfather was apparently a security guard at Pidilite, and he had left this envelope. None of them knew what it was, and he wanted to hand it over to my team member. She opened the envelope and she saw there were shares of Pidilite which were worth around 16 lakhs then. And she said, "This is your property, please keep it with you, please claim, I'll tell you how it needs to be claimed." So on the one hand, we need to relax the documentation. On the other, we also need to make people aware that it is their property which they are entitled to, and they are entitled to claim it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Parekh. It is absolutely clear and detailed. It will really ease out small value stuff very easily. At this small break, Dhirendra wants to leave. He has some urgent
Before we
assignment.
leave, I would request Mahapatra sir to kindly present a token of gratitude to Dhirendra sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us today and spending so much time.
So now, thanks Dhiren. Now we have absolutely a different set of discussion going on. It's not about money. It's about more valuable than money, that is knowledge. We will now focus on how financial education can be multiplied, how we can establish the better infrastructure with the use of AI and technology, and improve the financial literacy level and develop financial awareness to a level that we do not have any unclaimed amounts. So I would invite the director of NISM, my friend Mr. Shashi Krishnan, to give the talk. If you can introduce him.
Shri Shashi Krishnan brings nearly 40 years of experience in pension fund management, life insurance and mutual fund industries with extensive expertise in equity and debt markets. In his previous role, he served as the CEO of the National Pension System Trust. Prior to this, he was the CEO at Aditya Birla Sun Life Pension Management Limited. He has been an active member of the Index Policy Committee of India Index Services and Products Limited, the Capital Markets Committee of the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the co-chair of the Life Insurance Committee of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Shri Krishnan holds an MSc Honours in Economics from BITS Pilani. He also has a diploma in management with a specialization in finance and is a certified associate of the Indian Institute of Bankers. Sir, please.
Dr. Mahapatra, thank you so much for calling me to speak at the end of the session because that gives me a couple of advantages. One is that everything that has to be said has already been said. and therefore I really don't need to talk about too many things. And I think the next important thing is like, I am neither a regulator, nor am I a stakeholder like some of the nodal officers, nor am I part of the IPEF board. So maybe I can do some blue sky thinking, and I don't think anybody can criticize me on that, right? So two things you asked me to talk about. One is about technology and digitization, and two is about investor education. And I think a lot of it has already been said. So a couple of what I will say today has already been said. Maybe some of it has not been said. So a couple of suggestions rather than anything else. One is that digital claim processing and automation is now a reality, and therefore there is no need to debate about it. I do not know why we are debating about it. That is something that we have to do. I don't think we need to go anywhere. And you need to have an end-to-end, claim processing system. Whether you use Aadhaar, whether you use eKYC, whether you use e-sign for identity verification, whatever you do, I think that's the need of the hour, and therefore many speakers in the past have talked about it. I think we need to say that's what we're going to do. And I think AI-based document validation, chatbots, I think these are all part of what life is today. So I don't know, we don't need to talk too much about it. I think the second important thing is you really need to have, proactive discovery of unclaimed assets. And I think that's very, very simple in this age of technology, proactive, discovery of unclaimed assets, because today we have a system where the PAN, the Aadhaar, the DMAT, everything is integrated. You take out your, income tax form, and the kind of information that he gives out there, even I don't know is there. Sometimes he tells you where you spent your money, where you invested your money. And I think that integration has happened on so many platforms out here. We don't need to reinvent that whole thing. I mean, that platform is there for you. You just need to link yourself back to the income tax authority, and you get half the information that you want. I'll talk about investor awareness right at the end, because that's where you wanted me to spend some time. We've been talking about fast-tracking the settlement mechanism. I mean, Madam presented a report about that. My only suggestion out here is get rid of the nodal officers. Because what you need to do is have an e-nodal officer, because we are moving into an e-economy, right? So why don't you have something called e-nodality? And let's figure out how we can think about e-nodality, where everything can come to a single nodal agency, which can then scan the entire ecosystem to find out whether this is an asset that's lost or money that needs to be paid out. And as you rightly said, everything is now connected, whether it's Aadhaar, PAN, whatever it is. I think what we really need to do today is data transparency and analytics. Because, can we have real-time dashboards? I mean, I don't see these real-time dashboards. I know the Reserve Bank of India does have some kind of dashboards where you can check out things. But, I mean, can we classify this asset class-wise? Can we classify this geography-wise? I don't think it's so very difficult, because there is so much of data that is available in the digital space today that this is something that you can, do very easily. The use of technology next, intelligently can reduce future unclaimed assets. And I think we really need to sit back and think about how do we use technology to reduce future unclaimed assets. Because, can we insist that you can only have e-mandated dividends? I do not know, the regulators are sitting in front of us, but maybe that's something we should seriously think about, saying that dividends can only be e-mandated. You cannot have dividends paid out in any other which way. Because today everybody's got a bank account. It's already there. So, I mean, so I don't think we should be worried about adding to this entire system. Because that was one of the worries that somebody said, that we shouldn't be adding to, more of these unclaimed assets. Similarly, can't we have automatic dematerialization of inherited assets, assuming we were talking about physical assets? I mean, the moment you inherited it, automatically gets dematerialized. I think we need to think out of the box out there. Similarly, can't we have, link nomination registration to Aadhaar and CKYC? I do remember when I used to work at the NPS Trust, we did say, can we do this? Automatically sort of link Aadhaar and CKYC of the nominee to the, the NPS account. Because then what would happen is you could digitally settle the entire claim. You didn't need to go and re-verify whether the nominee was the real nominee. The single unified portal, I think everybody's been talking about the single unified portal. But just what I wanted to add out here is there will be so many more assets that we can't imagine today, especially with tokenization happening. Right? And I can give you a very simple example. My daughter used to work in the state of New York. She moved to Wisconsin. She opened what is called a Venmo account, which is a wallet. Right? And she had money in her wallet. In the US, after 1 year of your money remaining in the wallet, it goes into the lost fund if you do not operate that wallet. And that's going to happen in India today because I think most of the young generation now operates on wallets. What happens to the money that's there in your wallet? I'm sure it will go into some unclaimed fund which nobody will know anything about. And to get that money out is a very, very difficult thing. So I think we need to rethink about, even the kind of assets that go, and therefore a unified portal becomes very, very important. Talking from where Mr. Nair left, I think strengthening corporate governance is going to be extremely important in this entire thing because, we need to make, disclosure of unclaimed assets mandatory for every listed company. And I think, I'm sure the regulators will be seriously thinking about that because it's already there to some extent, but not too many of these boards take it very seriously, Mr. Nair, if I may sort of tell you about it. And why can't we make it part of a stock exchange filing also? So that, audit committees of the board, for example, should be able to review the status of investor claims and, take whatever necessary actions they need to make. And the last is market infrastructure institutions. I think in this entire digitization that has happened in the securities market at least, I think the market infrastructure institutions like NSDL and CSDL play a very, very important role. And they could be mandated to maintain something like, dormant security alert systems, where the moment a security becomes dormant, it throws out a set of alert that goes out to either the owner of that asset or whoever inherits that asset, so that we sort of prevent more such assets getting into the lost accounts. And finally, I think investor awareness, where I think we need to do a lot of job. I have after hearing everything today, I think that everybody in the world seems to be doing investor awareness, but no investor is aware. Because, unfortunately, the RBI says that it is doing investor awareness, SEBI says it's doing investor awareness, we at NISM say we are doing investor awareness, IPF says that it is doing investor awareness. Who is not doing investor awareness? So if there is so much of investor awareness going on, then why are the investors not aware? I think we need to sit back and ask ourselves this question, because my sense is we are not doing a good job about it. And we need to do a much better job about that. And I think the problem with when we talk about investor education is we want people to get into an asset, a financial asset. We want them to buy an insurance, we want them to buy NPS, we want them to buy, a mutual fund. But it's like Hotel California. Once you've bought it and nobody's bothered about it, you can't get out of the damn thing. And if you, for example, God forbid you die, then nobody's going to get that money. And I think that's where we need to expand the scope of what we mean by investor education and investor awareness to make people understand how the end-to-end journey works, so that they know that when they get into an asset, there will be times when they will get out of the asset, there will be times when they will lose money out on that. And therefore, I think what we need today is AI-curated, personalized financial health reports that can be sent to each investor, where you could tell an investor that these are the assets where you are invested in, these are the assets where you have received a dividend, this is the date on which your money was credited into your bank account. If it hasn't, if you don't reflect it, if it's not reflected in your bank account, then possibly it's a dormant asset. Please go and check it. I don't see why this should be very, very difficult, because all this is anyway digitized in the intermediary system, CDSL, NSDL, the banks, everybody is sort of digitized it. And I think the next part is obviously our entire approach to investor education also needs to be sort of rethought out, simply because what we have done today through digitization has given people access to market. But beyond access, we are really not doing very much. And therefore, I think what we need to do is we need to reinforce a lot of these messages every time we do this, in terms of, make it more interactive, personalize these kind of messages, have multiple languages. Because unless we do all that, I think a lot of what we're going to do in terms of investor education is really not going to make sense. And especially from the point of view of lost money, I think we are not getting that message across. All we are trying to tell people is invest into a mutual fund, you'll be able to create long-term wealth. We're not trying to tell them that after you've created that long-term wealth, and if you've forgotten about it, what you need to do about it. So we need to reorient ourselves, possibly in the way we approach it. So I will leave those ideas with you, and thank you so much for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you very much. It just, I thought that as if I am speaking some of my points. Absolutely agreeable. The camp approach, the partialized approach of the regulators or even associations when they speak, they want to sell a product. The bankers go and for financial inclusions, they open a bank account. The insurance camps will highlight only insurance. The absolute change is required. And now we come to a close, and if there is any question at this stage, who wants to risk lunch, then you can. 2 to 3 questions. Then I have a big summarization.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krishna Chauhan, and I'm currently a law student at National Law University, Delhi. So my question comes as a company secretary student, that we study compliance, we study accountability, the importance of investor protection, and we often learn about the transfers and leakages in the public finance sector. And from your perspective, I want to know, how can a young student and a governance professional like us can contribute beyond routine compliance by using technology, awareness initiatives, and robust reporting to strengthen the financial governance system and ensure the transparency among investors and the stakeholders?
Quite a long ask. Shashi?
So I don't know where the question is. I think the law is very clear as to what can be done. The problem is that we need to know how to implement the law effectively, and that's clearly where technology can come into play. And my own sense is that technology has gone such a long way that it's much easier for us to sort of, you as a student will need to interpret the law and then use technology, in my opinion, to sort of deliver the services to whoever needs to receive those services.
Thank you. Let's ask the company secretary to answer another company secretary.
Sure. So talking in terms of awareness, there are simple things which, from a knowledge perspective, you would be aware because it's all there in the IEPF rules. But then, is the claimant aware of it? Let me just share an example. At Reliance, we've been holding webinars to create this awareness, and I personally chair it. We've already had 3 such webinars till now. And the last one, we had around 620 people participating in it. And there were 2-3 common questions. One of which was, how do I open a demat account? I am staying overseas. Now, you go to any DP, they will tell you how it has to be opened. So awareness is missing. The knowledge is definitely there on the net. It's also there with the depository participants. These people do not know who they need to go to. So we also have a shareholders reference. So one of the other things we're going to be doing is, we're going to add these 150 questions, unique ones that we got, and we're going to put it up on the website. It will be useful to all the investors. So in terms of awareness, there's a lot of things that a budding company secretary can do. Because the knowledge is here, it's required there. So please take it there. Yeah, thanks. I didn't name Samiksha.
Any more questions?
Not question, only suggestion.
Mike, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Just I am not complaining or any other questioning. Just I am giving suggestions. That means, sir, I appreciate the government efforts in disseminating the investor awareness. But I suggest you Sir, please, it should go to the village level, grassroots level, district level, because my father was also a victim of this. Once my father was consulted by some scamsters. That means so many hotel results, the result. So invest your money to those preference shareholders. Luckily, I was there. My father asked me to negotiate on them. I asked so many different questions because I am company secretary. I know the very regular investor awareness. I am mature. So 2-3 questions, they are blocked. So I got them and I said, Father, please don't entertain these scammers. So luckily, my father was saved. There are so many persons are there in the village level or district level. They are growing and growing. They are becoming rich. So my suggestion is that disseminating the investor awareness in the local metropolitan cities is good, but it should reach the ground level, district level. Thank you.
I will add on here, and Sunil will bear me out. At SEBI, we are doing a series of events with the Panchayati Raj Ministry, where they are actually going down to that level, but we are not going directly, we are training the trainers. Because we don't have the capacity at SEBI or NISM to go down and train each village level sort of person. So we have got, train the trainers who are then being deployed at the village level. But I think that's a suggestion that's already been taken on board.
We'll close this. I will request Ms. Veeni Thapur ma'am again to kindly come and present the gifts to our last speakers. She's board member IEPFA. We have Shri Shashi Krishnan, Director NISM. Thank you, sir, for joining. We have Ms. Parekh, Ms. Savitri Parekh. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. We'll now move on to the last remark. As we draw close to the 9th Foundation Day of IEPFA, I would now request Dr. Mahapatra, IEPF Chair Professor at NCAR, to kindly close today's discussion with his closing remarks.
I'll not make you wait long. It's absolutely not closing remarks, actually opening kind of worms, opening remarks, what more we can do in this area. I absolutely thank all the speakers for respecting my request to come to the point and give solutions and give facts and figures. Thank you all very much for that. And let me tell you, the discussion about a comprehensive central law, a nodal authority, you talked about e-nodal authority, which exactly US have that nodal authority in NUPA, and then they also have a revised Unclaimed Properties Act in Europa. We do not have such thing which can make, they have 50 states and there are different systems, but we have only 5 organizations and 4 organizations which can be integrated, and as we see more and more institutions will have unclaimed stuff, and we'll have to take control of things using AI and blockchain technology. I'm a strong believer of that, and my working paper where I compare almost all the developed economies and some developing economies, there I have few recommendations that I have given which I hinted in the morning. I'll just run through what others said and what I feel like in terms of the recommendations that has been given. A comprehensive central law and a unified legal framework, a single window national registry, which we talked about, reducing the dormancy period. People outside, it's as less as 1 year. So at least we should target 3 years or 3 to 5 years. We don't take it beyond 10 years. And I very much like the observation of Sunil from RBI that why do we wait that period? After it is dormant, why don't we really close that loop and try to do it, whether you do it through the postman or whether you do it through sending letters or the branch manager or the mutual fund agent. please close that and don't make that 7 years complete, don't make that 10 years complete. A lot of preventive efforts. And everybody was asking if so everybody is doing investor awareness, why people are not aware? Because people are not doing their awareness on their own. When you talk about the company secretary trying to know what should I do, you should ask yourself, do you look up the right kind of websites? The right kind of updations that keeps coming. You know, SEBI handles capital market, IEPFA handles the lost shares, Reserve Bank also handles the bank accounts. And it takes a minute. If elderly people take 2 minutes, 3 minutes to enter the right type of website, you take a fraction of a second to enter into that. You can yourself be the messenger. And the youth, I always say, where I find the financial fitness is the lowest amongst youth. There was a fitness survey which said that overall, out of 20 score, 5.29 is overall for India, 3.42 credit goes to the youth. In contrast, elders have 6.72. So the youngsters who feel that if they get into cryptocurrency or do the e-platform and do their share trading more and more, they think they know everything. No, that is wrong. 47% of the personal defaults that happens due to the buy now, pay later phenomenon of the youngsters, and also the impulse buying and so many other things, and what to talk of negligence towards certain things, passing on stuff through WhatsApp, OTPs, Aadhaar card, PAN card details, it is rampant. So knowledge has to be complete, literacy has to be complete, the onus first lies on yourselves to handle your own money. That's my personal feeling, and we have to have this national awareness campaign, and it has to be a comprehensive one. I don't want to repeat that. We have to leverage technology. We have to have all these financial institutions get their act together. And board governance is a very good point that Mr. Arkanayar mentioned. And let me tell you that Mr. Narasimhan talking about the NSDL, CDSL, the account keeping, the information keeping agencies should disseminate that amongst themselves. That's also half the problem. He talked about the depositories taking a cue from all these lost shares or unclaimed shares and trying to help out IEPF in getting that. That's a very good area. Anita talked about the foundational framework and policy measures adopted by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and a lot of things have been told in terms of the initiatives. I only wish that the initiatives complete in time and we see the light at the end of the tunnel. The figures are equally huge as in case of banks. We talk about, I think, 148 crore shares or some odd. There are figures and figures. Sanjeev Sanyal talked about the process reforms that is happening. Sunil Kadam from SEBI mentioned about a lot of initiative taken on the mutual fund front and the REIT and InvIT front, and they do not give interest, he admits, and what can be done to give them some amount of remuneration because it's their money. This was reiterated by Dhirendra also. And on the pension front, Sumit shared crucial insights into the pension domain, clarified about the national pension system being relatively nascent in India. Otherwise, the EPFO funds and insurance funds goes to senior citizen welfare fund. We unfortunately did not have the Ministry of Social Justice representation here. That's another area where money lies. Also money lies in the postal department. All the postal deposits, some are unclaimed. Figures which are being disposed of is very, very low, abysmally low. And I hope that as we have more and more such conferences and workshops, we can sensitize people across sectors, across people. And Mr. Nayar's point that Reserve Bank is taking a lot of effort in terms of video KYC. The Indian Banks Association is doing a standard operating procedure for a common application form. And the Udgam amount also end-to-end point service is still lacking. We do not know. We know how many 9 lakh people have access, but what exactly happened to them? Did they get back their money? We don't know. In case of IEPFA also, the time taken is much more and prohibitive, as Anita mentioned. So people are all aware about the issues at the highest level, and I have been asked also to go further in this area, and I will be summarizing and will give a few recommendations to the government as a result of this roundtable conference. I have personally in my mind to document all of it in terms of a book. Let's see if that takes some shape. And in conclusion, let me thank each of you for contributing, and many of you have really taken the pain of giving it in writing, which means all have thoughtfully thought about how we can solve the problem. So thank you Anita and Sanjeev Sanyal in absentia. Thank you Sunil Kadam, Mr. Sunil Nair, Mr. Narasimhan, and also Sumit from PFRDA, Mr. R.K. Nair, and also in absentia Mr. Dhirendra Kumar and Mr. Shashi Krishnan, who is with me, and Madam Parikh, who shared with us the valuable effort that is going on in terms of that working group report. Certainly solve the problem of small amounts, which to me is a bigger amount than the big amounts, because you see the value of money for small people is too much. Rich can afford to delay things, but poor cannot. If that goes down the line, that understanding, that feeling, that empathy, that humanness, which was also talked about by people, it will take us a very, very long way in this regard. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all. We close the celebration of 9th Foundation Day of IEPFA. Looking forward to see all of you at the 10th year celebration of IEPFA's foundation.